This episode of the Major Issues Podcast is brought to you by ComicBook Clique at tpublic.com. Take a selfie rocking one of our shirts from TeePublic and use the hashtag CBCWorthy for a chance to win 2 free tickets to see Captain Marvel in theaters March 8th. Just click the Shop Comic Book Clique link in our show notes to make a purchase, or follow us on Facebook for more information. Remember, you are worthy. Hello everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by Comic Book Clique. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself.
My name is Peter Melnik, and I am the co-host of the Marvelists, the Marvel Universe podcast.
Peter Melnik is here in studio and looking as marvelous as ever, if I might say so myself.
With my Star-Lord shirt. Hashtag Star-Lord did nothing wrong.
I'm on the same boat, brother. You are preaching to the choir. And he is here in studio for a very, very good reason, because we talked last week about a great movie, to Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen it, people, go out there and get to it.
I've seen it 3 times.
I'm telling you, man, it's like a church experience. And we've also talked about that soundbite is hilarious. We've also talked about predicting what's to come with a lot of these comic book movies that are coming down the pike in 2019. But when we talk about the best of the best, we kind of have to even things out and talk about the worst of the worst. So today we'll be diving in a little bit on bad comic book movie sequels and how they get that way. But before we do that, how the hell are you, Peter?
I'm pretty good. It is really rainy out there, but
yeah, right.
It happens.
Yeah. The first weekend of the new year is a little bit dreary, but we got some rays of sunlight, because even through the water, you know who's really benefiting with all this water? My man Jason Momoa. My man Jason Momoa.
The movie with his dad, his old man, my old man.
And I'm a water man. Aquaman passes BVS to become the biggest DCEU movie ever at the box office. How do you feel about that? And did you expect for this movie to hit as well as it did?
How many millions of records has Nickelback sold?
I
think that answers that. But see,
so Aquaman is the Gangnam Style of DCEU movies. Is that what you?
Dude, I just recently found my copy of Avengers #1, the Deadpool Gangnam Style variant cover. I don't know why I own that.
That's hilarious.
But I have that. But see, I didn't care for Aquaman, and maybe I'm narcoleptic, but I did seriously fall asleep in the Black Manta fight.
Yeah.
They're trying. I'm a Marvel guy through and through. I do a show called The Marvelists.
This is true.
But I don't have a bias, because I want to see these guys succeed. One of my all-time favorite movies, The Dark Knight, Batman 89. I mean, we're seeing a trend here right now. But,
right.
And, of course, Superman. Superman is my favorite DC character.
Yeah.
And not that many people know that, but here we are. And I want to see them succeed. But it's like they're the bad news bears.
Yeah.
Like, they're just... I want them to get it eventually. Like, they got it with Wonder Woman, but to be completely honest, Wonder Woman was kind of average.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not a woman. I'm not, being represented on the big screen, so I'm like, oh, whatever. But for, like, little 5-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl, 42-year-old woman, they're watching this movie. They're feeling empowered.
Yeah.
And that's their time. Let them be able to enjoy this, So...
I feel like Wonder Woman did what exactly what you were talking about. It inspired a whole gender in many ways, but and that's a gender that a lot of people were saying was underserved. You have a little bit of a suspicion that same gender is being targeted with this film. Am I correct?
Just on the eye candy level, yes, with my man, the Wrangler jeans commercial, strutting Jason Momoa. But I think that's part of why that movie is doing so well. Like, when I posted on Facebook, I mentioned a comment. I'm like, yeah, guys, I fell asleep during it. They go, yo, I wouldn't. Yeah. I'd be awake the entire time. And then I look at who it's, commenting. I'm like, oh, this girl. Yeah, all right, makes sense.
Is this the turn of the? I mean, puns. Is this the turn of the tide for the DCEU with Aquaman, or is this another fluke in the sense where we got Wonder Woman, which was critically acclaimed and broke records, and then we got Justice League right after that?
In my opinion, all of these are going to do well because it's a certifiable brand. Like all of them are really, really, really popular. Like no matter what, they're going to do gangbusters. But you also have the progression of the story. You know, there's going to be the people like with the Marvel movies. Everyone's coming along for the ride to see what's next. What's the next story? Just like, you know, people watched Breaking Bad. Every episode they watched, they stayed on board for the ride. Yeah. They want to stay on board for this ride.
That makes sense. And they should be building on each other. I mean, that's what good sequels do. But we'll get on that in a bit. But yeah, DC seems to be kind of killing it because I guess after this Aquaman will be Shazam. And that already looks like a different taste.
I'm low-key hyped for that.
Yeah.
I'll be up. This is the kind of fanboy I am where I'm going to be going to the theater wearing a Captain Marvel hat from Marvel.
Right,
and then when I go see Captain Marvel, I'm going to be wearing my Shazam Big Red Cheese shirt. So,
who's your definitive Captain Marvel? Is it Shazam or is it
honestly, yeah,
Carol
because
Danvers?
I would have to go with, you know, Billy Batson, you know, the guy who's fighting The Rock soon eventually.
Yeah, right. Eventually, right? He's coming somewhere, sometime.
I hope he's at the end, like post credits.
He gotta be. I felt like he was on board before the director was on board. I feel like we've been hearing about The Rock and Shazam for like a decade now.
I want to say, didn't they announce him 2014, 2015?
It was because it was before BVS. I remember that specifically.
They're casting people in these movies like they're casting them for, like, you know, getting drafted for a football team.
Yeah.
Like, we're either going to be getting, you know, so-and-so going over to Marvel. They're going to get drafted to DC, drafted to Image somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all of these people, like, they're getting brought over to these different companies. And then you see the defections.
Yeah.
Like, Zachary Levi?
Yeah.
Levi Jeans, whatever. But he, you know, was a Marvel guy.
Yeah, he was a Thor guy.
And just such background, though. And then, boom, becomes the guy.
Yeah. And that's all it takes sometimes.
You say Shazam and you become Shazam.
You remember all that weird talk about Michael B. Jordan being cast as Superman.
Yeah.
We're just going to start pilfering each other's stars and stuff, and directors, right? Changing brands and stuff. This has become the attitude era of... It's like... You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And then the next thing you know, he gets Guardians of the Galaxy. But I really, really hope that this is for the kids. There doesn't seem to be much for kids nowadays in these streams of movies. Spider-Verse, again, like we spoke about, I think served that audience. But not everything is going to. It didn't look like BVS wanted to. It didn't look like Man of Steel wanted to. Wonder Woman did, but in a lot of ways, it had a very adult themes and a very adult...
How do you feel about how... Batman, no, not, wow, why am I saying Batman? Anyway, Spider-Verse going against Aquaman with Thor. The movie is not doing as well compared to, you know, Aquaman.
Right.
A lot of people are, like, believing, well, that's the reason is it's an animated movie. But then again, look at Coco. That did gangbusters.
Yeah,
that did really well. Incredibles 2 did, no pun intended, incredibly well. Why isn't Spider-Verse doing that?
If I had to, like, legitimately, randomly, you know, try to figure out what's going on, I would assume that when push comes to shove, if parents were taking their kids to see a Christmas, you know, like in the Christmas time, go to take them to a theater, they want something a little bit more for them. Yeah. So they choose the Aquaman because they think that they'll get more out of that than they would out of the animated, which kind of sucks because one of my favorite films of 2007 was Lego Batman, which I think did such a great job. As Spider-Verse did, is almost a love letter to the character because you only can make the jokes that it does when you care about that character, know that character as much as you do.
Isn't it great to say Zach Galifianakis is a great Joker?
Yeah, right.
Like that's such a weird sense to say.
And even Will Arnett, like considering that Bat voice, like you know, it's for a whole new generation. But I think it does something that the other films don't, which is it has the ability to laugh at itself. Yeah. Aquaman laughed at itself a lot. There was a lot of that too, with like, should I pee on it and all the other kind of stuff that's going on there. But I'm hoping for I'm hoping for a lot with this Shazam thing. I mean, we saw the backpack kid dance, right? We see. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of social media probably play in this, or a lot of what are those and stuff like that, memes.
I'll say though, with with Aquaman, that is a gorgeous movie to look at.
Yeah, it is.
And I was having a conversation with my friend Joden the other day, and Joden brought up that when you're watching the movie, it was kind of like Avatar in the sense of, what a gorgeous looking movie. Yeah. Not a lot going for it, but what a gorgeous looking movie.
And also, like, what gorgeous landscapes, but instead of just letting you see them, we're just going to tell you about all of them. We're going to tell you about every ancient myth and every ancient, legend, and literally everyone you bump into is going to be like, oh yeah, and this is the, and they'll just be expository about it. I said that movie got near genius when you get to that trench scene. Just the effects there, the lighting of the monsters. Oh, but James Wan is a horror director, so that's right in his wheelhouse there. Whereas a lot of people are waiting with bated breath to see if DC can get back to being fun. And Aquaman is the step in that right direction. They need to work on their characterizations because Batman's not the person to tell jokes in these films. So if Aquaman's going to be that one, I'm even a little bit, standoffish with Flash telling too many jokes. Like if it's not Wally, like get Wally in there. Wally will sit there, he'll joke it up all willy-nilly. I feel like Barry should be a little bit more, I'm CSI trying to get my dad out of the prison.
I mean, we have the television version with Grant Gustin. So I think that's why the character is the way he is, because that character people adore.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the series. And I haven't watched since most of the beginning of season 2. Kind of with Gotham, which my friend Patricio Raballo, one of the things he always says to me, you watch Gotham? You probably don't watch Gotham. And I've told him repeatedly, Patricio, I've watched the first season of Gotham. Yeah. And I think the first 5 of season 2. I have watched Gotham. I just don't have a lot of time. Yeah.
I consider Flash season 1 one of the best first seasons of a comic book television show. Yeah. Just because how everything was structured. And Gotham, Gotham's going on its final season this year. It's on season 5, and they're wondering where the bat ends up past that. We talked a little bit on our year-end review kind of deal that the Bat brand's kind of damaged in this last year. With Bat Pole in the comics and with Affleck, will he or won't he? DC really has to look at not putting all their eggs in the Batman, Superman basket, which they've done since the 70s.
You and I were both talking off mic about it, though, but they, in my opinion, they push more Batman, because I'll give you the example of the Guardians of the Galaxy and then the Batman Telltale games.
That's true.
You have Marvel. They go on... I just defeated my own story. You have DC, and they go up to Telltale Games and say, hey, we want to do a video game with you guys. All right, who do you have in mind? Batman. We want to do Batman. All right, cool. Hey, Marvel, you want to do a game with us? Oh, absolutely. Who are you thinking? Captain America, Iron Man? Guardians of the Galaxy. What? Raccoon Tree. We want to do that.
That's it.
So they don't, like, they want to make everyone an A-list character. And I'm excited for the day Moon Knight becomes at least a solid B+, A- character, because I'm loony for Mooney, and I got to give a shout out to my boys at Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. They, are just like me, obsessed with that character. And Moon Knight is someone that he's Marvel's answer to Batman in many aspects, and not really, but
and in many ways parodies him and his mindset. And Marvel movies have done what I feel comic book movies have done for a very long time, which is truly show that it's literally the person telling the story that drives the strength of the story. I equate it to what Jeff Johns was able to do with Green Lantern and Aquaman. Like, you gotta care about those characters to write new stories. I recently read the Cosmic Ghost Rider story, which I thought was...
but Donny Cates, my boy Donny Cates.
Bonkers, but so entertaining, so enjoyable. And again, you have to care about those characters to get them to that point.
Donny Cates is doing a lot of, like, the 90s, like, really, he's doing 90s kind of comic books. Yeah. And he's working on Venom. He's working on Cosmic Ghost Rider, or was now, because the series just ended. And, like, so many other series over at Marvel. I've jokingly said to, different Marvel guys, he's literally doing every single comic book under the sun for that company right now. Yeah. And I am not complaining about that. I'm jealous of you. You're a DC guy. I can tell a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
You say?
Yeah.
You guys have Tom King. I'm jealous of you for that. So jealous, because I read his Vision run, and Vision is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And
even Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle is really, really good.
I'm waiting for the trade for that. Like, I wanted to get like individual issues, but I'm like, I really don't want to add one more book to the pull.
It's so much. I recently on this vacation went through the beginning to where we're at now in Cates' run on Venom. And even thinking that, it's like, this character has existed for, decades, and he's still finding new things to pull from it and ways to go. I'll connect this to Thor, and I'll connect this to, like the Dawn of Time.
That Thanos run, man. That Thanos run was incredible.
You have to want to tell new stories. So I wonder sometimes with Batman and Superman whether or not they even care, or whether it becomes a thing of, well, they know the brand. Once the brand goes up, people are going to come see it. And it's like, wait, there's stories to tell. I adore, and I get crap for this, but I adore Damian Wayne as a character.
I hate Damian Wayne so much. I own 2 copies of his death because I hated that character so much.
That silent issue was pretty cool, though. They
do a silent for Batman issue. And Robin?
Yeah.
I like that.
They
that
did
issue
that.
was so great.
They do a silent issue after his death, which is great. I like Damian Wayne because I like Batman explaining why he's Batman and not being inner dialogue. He does to me in this what there was another character that does something similar. What Miles is to Spider-Man. Spider-Man's able to talk about how I always get up, and this is what you do, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, and this is why you wear the mask. You actually able to get that from him, and in Spider-Man, for the most part, that's all thought bubbles. Yeah. And that's where you get his inner monologue. Batman lives in his inner monologue, but without being able to do that in film, he has to be able to tell somebody. And if he's going to tell somebody, I'd rather it be a 10-year-old kid than Chris O'Donnell. So that's where we get stuck in that. I would like to see them try to play in a world where he has to explain why he goes so hard, but also explain why he has the restraint that he does, because he does. He can literally just be a dictator and killing everybody in Gotham.
And circling back over to Marvel, though, with the comparison with, Marvel and DC, I like to think that Marvel wants to make all of their characters A-listers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem, like, for me with DC, though, where you want Batman. You want Batman. No, I kind of want Superman. No, you want Batman.
Yeah.
I bought a Superman shirt, and I swear to you, I'll take a photo, throw it up on my Twitter or Instagram one of these days, at Peter Melnik on both, by the way. Got to get that shameless plug out there. But what I had was a Superman shirt, and when you look inside the tag, like the ink printed on tag, because it was tagless, because you don't want that itchy thing in the back.
Oh, you don't.
It was a Batman logo on there. And I'm like, are you
they
kidding
still
me?
managed to put a Batman logo on there?
It drove me nuts. I'm like, but I got it because I'm like, this is funny. I got a Superman Batman shirt. But I'm looking at that, I'm like, really, guys?
Yeah.
Because that's what they want it to be. And I understand. It's the most popular character. But in pro wrestling terms, put over other characters.
No,
man.
Exactly. We talk about that all the time. In pro wrestling terms, things are only going to be as popular as you allow them to be. So if you say, like, well, no one's going to be as popular as Hulk Hogan, well, if you keep saying that, you will ensure that no one's as popular as Hulk Hogan. But you have to take chances. The idea, look at the CW. Green Arrow, like, when that show came out, people couldn't tell you 3 facts about the guy. And now, whether they're correct or not, because they're informed by the show, they know things.
Yeah.
And they know characters, and they know plot points and beats. And they took a chance on that. I was one of the people ready to write off the Flash. I thought he was just a fast guy. And who needs, like, yeah,
that's Bane, sorry.
Yeah. I thought that was literally him. I thought he was literally he's a fast guy. And then I read some Flash and I saw that show and I'm like, they care. They care enough to know that I'm not in the bag yet.
Yeah.
And they're willing, I mean, in a probably a bad analogy, they're willing to romance me still. They're still willing to put on the candles and buy me the roses and say, I know you don't know this guy, but let me introduce you to him in a nice way and let you feel the beats, and so you can really get him. Whereas I've been married to Batman for 40 years and he's like, roll over. You understand? He's just like, this is, you know me. You know what this is. We'll show the pearls. You're going to see the pearls. That's what's going to happen. And this is, you should be used to this by now.
I'm tired of Thomas and Martha Wayne dying. I'm tired of Uncle Ben dying. And let me tell you something, brother. I don't know why I felt like doing Hulk Hogan for that, but with Spider-Verse, I love that it was just boom, 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 boom. Uncle Ben's dead. Oh, let's go on to the next thing. I'm like, I loved that.
Yeah.
Whereas we have to have the very slow shot in BVS of, we're seeing the pearls fall. Look how artistic I'm being. Even though I've only read Dark Knight Returns once in my life. Hi, I'm Zack Snyder.
Which is where the pearls,
yeah.
And they literally just go that beat. Almost in every Batman movie, they have to have this random moment. He could be microwaving a burrito, and then he'll just turn to the side and see his parents die again. He'll see his parents die again. And I get how much of that tragedy shapes that character, but he should also be a testament of what you build from tragedy, not how you just kind of sit in it. And maybe that's more of a criticism of the actual characterization of the character. But then again, he doesn't have to just be this one way. And I hope DC figures this out with guys like Shazam, who, to my knowledge, doesn't have a point in time where he just beats up a mutant and then kills the Joker in the Tunnel of Love and then gets an armored suit and tries to fight Superman.
Although I will say, for the record, I'm obviously hyped for Shazam, but I'm even more so hyped for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. That looks like, just the studio shot scenes. How hyped am I for this movie? A lot.
How do you feel about the idea of the two Jokers? The two ones being...
Give me 12. I don't care.
You don't care? As long as they're... Because Joaquin's probably not going to play in the world, right?
Probably not. I mean...
No. Somebody said, I'm going to be pissed if it ends with him shooting Thomas and Martha Wayne. And I said, I'd be pissed, but the only thing that can save it for me if he does the Pale Moonlight line.
Oh. What?
Yeah, if he does that, have you ever danced with the devil in the Pale Moonlight? That might just sell it for me, and I'm good there. Because we did some of the research behind the Joker, and they were saying that they're gonna play Thomas a little bit like the current president, with the idea that he is he's a millionaire who's gonna run for mayor and may not be the nicest to citizens or have a nice public face. And the idea of Thomas not being a babyface is like, whoa, okay, we're going to try this out. And supposedly, they're also in talks of making a Joker his illegitimate child.
Are we also making Gotham great again?
Yeah, one step at a time. Everybody gets red hats. They're talking about...
They gotta be purple or black because it's, Gotham. Everything's dark and gloomy.
That's true. And yeah, put some like a weird statue on top of it. They had too many damn statues in Gotham in some of these films.
Well, you need all those statues because Batman's got to perch on something. What is he really going to perch on? A subway sign or, a little stop sign?
They've just seen him in BVS where he's standing like on a crane with a gun. And I'm like, how did he get up there? And how did no one see him get up there? How did you get up there? I like the shot. They do the whole panic shot. It's like, how did you get up there? I don't understand.
And speaking of dark and gloomy, by the way, Todd McFarlane is going on saying that the Spawn quote-unquote reboot or whatever the hell it's going to be will be very dark and gritty and, whatever.
Has he spoken on length about how he feels about the original Spawn film?
I don't believe so. I know Todd McFarlane, who I'm just going to do a butchering of his voice. But he was involved with the soundtrack, I guess.
Right.
There was about that, but I'm going to look it up later, but man, the Todd father, I don't think he's read his own comic in maybe 20-something years, because I'm going, rereading the run myself right now, and because I'm a sucker for 90s comics.
Yeah.
And
that book feels very 90s. Does it read very,
Kids love change.
Okay.
It's very clunky.
Okay.
And...
cool for cool's sake?
A little.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Todd's trying to find his writing style, issue by issue.
Yeah. Is he still writing that book?
I don't believe... Or actually, I think he is at the moment.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
I know for a while that he had Capullo doing his work, his art. Greg Capullo, who...
yeah, that was years ago, though.
Yeah.
But he handed the reins over. I know he was writing it fairly recent with Savage Dragon's Eric Larson.
Yeah.
And that's where, I'm going through all of it. And I want to get it to the Eric Larson stuff, because... I'm a Savage Dragon fanboy. I'm one of those, no matter how bonkers that series is, I'm still going to support it because...
He seems like he put his all in it.
Eric wants that to be his thing now.
Yeah, he has put... And when you have that much passion behind a project, it's hard not for that passion not to be contagious when you read it off the page. The reason why I asked about the writers on Spawn is because I'm wondering if there's a definitive either run or story that I've missed. Because when I think of Spawn, I don't necessarily think of a particular story, villain, or arc. And is it just issue for issue's sake every time? Or is there a big connective tissue of there's this villain, there's that villain, because I heard about the Angela stuff. When they bring Angela in and then she ends up getting taken by Marvel because of all that.
That was a moment in time.
Yeah.
But with all of it, the thing about it for me, I would say, obviously the McFarlane, the original, whatever number of issues he was working on it. Of course, the Greg Capullo art is phenomenal. And
really,
the
really
fact
good.
he was able to steal him away from Marvel and do this and just put out great stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see Capullo return to Marvel. And again, that's not just coming as a guy who does a Marvel podcast. Yeah. I just love his art. And, that run is fantastic. What else? Again, just because I'm biased, I love the guy. Eric Larson's stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So, is Spawn going to be the anti-superhero movie? I mean, a lot of ways, this Venom was trying to portray that, right? This ain't your grandfather's superhero movie.
Venom.
That's another $800 million movie that randomly just started making a bunch of money.
Venom is a movie where I can watch clips of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to be able to watch the whole movie again. I honestly bought the movie on Blu-ray because it came with that cool looking action figure. Yeah. I found the retro Walmart one and I'm like, ooh, I want that.
Right.
But there are parts like that version of Venom. Oh my God, is it a good version of the character? Like, it takes what they botched in Spider-Man 3, which we are going to be talking about. One of us will be talking about it. Will it be me or will it be George? We don't know. Dun. But yeah, just that whole. It's like he's like a little child. That version of Venom. Yeah. He's like a fish out of water kind of story, just like
wide-eyed
out of water.
Symbiote out of water. And it sounds like a rock band.
It might be. It might very Seattle grunge, but I love that version of the character where he's just so awkward and he's like trying to also be that little voice, like pushing him. You want to do this. No, or, sorry, I can do the Venom voice kind of. I'm on the spot. Crap. I am Venom.
That's actually pretty good.
I'm trying.
That's pretty good with Tony Todd, right?
Was it Tony Todd that did the voice?
that's
Candyman.
Yeah, Candyman.
And also Reverse Flash. Zoom.
Yeah.
God, I love that version.
He used to go, The Flash. And we used to make fun of him all the time. Because he was just such a sinister villain. He would just go, The Flash.
One of my favorite moments at a con was just watching him sit at the bar after East Coast Comic Con, just sitting there at the bar, pounding drinks and just bullshitting with people. And I was like laughing. I'm like, this is funny.
Yeah. He's a good guy. But Spawn, I mean, who knows? Is that the only Image property they're actively trying to make a movie for? I heard about Invincible.
I know Saga is going to be made into a TV series, supposedly, right. I think, ? But other, like Sex Crims is, Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. That is supposed to be a TV show, but again, just kept stalling. During our interview with Chip on the Marvelists, I asked him about it. He's like,
He's like, I'm down for it. Just let me know what's taking so long.
It got optioned like years ago, like I think 2014 or 15, and it's just been stalled over and over.
And you got The Walking Dead.
Of course, The Walking Dead. They're going to be doing the Rick movies, but those are apparently just going to be TV
What
movies.
Does that even mean? What does that even mean? We're going to do the Rick movies. And
it's not even a movie. It's a made-for-TV movie.
And the guy dies halfway through the run of the series of comics that they're at now.
Wait, he did die? They killed Rick in the comics?
Or, wait. Well, they do a time jump. Is he not dead? I remember Carl being older.
I fell off during All Out War. Like, that's how far behind The Walking Dead I am.
Now, that was about... But those comics are kind of entertaining. There's not much to them. But they
just get repetitive for me. Like,
they kind of do, yeah.
I love, like, the first 100 or so issues of The Walking Dead.
I probably stop at, like, 110 maybe, 115, because...
They're very masterful.
Yeah. But then I'm watching the show and I'm like, these guys are just not caring about what we're doing in the books, and we're just gonna take a turn here. Is
Kirkman even involved with the show anymore? I've heard
a lot of people left, and they were suing AMC, and there's a lot of bad blood and all that stuff going on there, which is just like it's a lot of the beginnings of love affairs with grabbing these properties and just doing how they feel like doing with it. And Image is supposed to be creator friendly. It's supposed to be, you will do it your way, and he took it to AMC and they did it their way, and they cut budgets and they killed characters, and they've done what they wanted to do, now to the point where if you want to consider Fear the Walking Dead a different property, they have Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and now these Rick movies, which is a real big way to stretch one property. Like I'd probably further than it probably should be stretched at this point. But
I mean, it really sucks when something so great eventually becomes bad.
Yes.
Much like what the topic at hand for this episode is going to be, I believe.
Correct? Yes, this is very true. And something that we were talking about before about going bad and the idea with the brand, they're saying that the ever so sought after Batman film is supposedly going to start shooting this November, which is what
I'm hearing that.
How many months from now?
But is Affleck involved?
I don't know. And supposedly that was the only selling point, right? Was that he could direct it. And then they were like, well, we don't know yet.
Schrodinger's Batman is a Batman that is on the project, off the project. Yes, on the project, he's both, And
I also feel like, think about it, they're saying that this movie's supposed to be coming out in November, which then tells me that they're probably going to be gauging it around...
November this year?
No, sorry. It's going to start shooting in November.
I was going to say, holy crap.
It's going to start shooting in November, but is there a coincidence that that's when the Joker film was supposed to be coming out? Are they going to be trying to gauge things? Because, don't get it twisted, I said this on this cast before, they should be waiting till movies come out before they start making other movies. Because this idea that, like, well, we're making Wonder Woman and Justice League at the same time. So if people hate Wonder Woman, we won't know. And we won't have time to course correct.
Man, I was hyped for Wonder Woman 84, and now that's just
they pushed it down, right?
Yeah, next year.
Next year?
They're kind of New Mutants thing and Dark Phoenix.
Oh my god, that trailer came out 2 years ago for New Mutants. 2 years ago.
That poster got recalled.
Brick in the wall. I remember it.
Everyone was like, "Really? They're doing a horror movie for this? This is a terrible idea." I'm like, have y'all read the Bill Sienkiewicz, Chris Claremont run? Because that is some spooky stuff.
That art is amazing.
So when I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh, horror is definitely a good idea for this. Because even when a character's like looking really happy, you're petrified. Like looking at like, ugh.
Same thing with Spawn could take a lick from there. It can make itself more horrifying or horror.
It's gonna be Blumhouse, isn't it? Blumhouse or something.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be
in the bag. Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of the Todd father being the director father.
Yeah.
Because he should not. No.
Sometimes comic creators can get a little bit masturbatory on these kind of projects, and I fear that because the first Spawn movie felt that way. It felt very edge for edge's sake. It felt very...
I've never seen the first Spawn.
No?
No, I've wanted to.
It feels very like... We don't... Like, mustache twirling villain. Like, just rule of cool all the way, but sometimes it doesn't work. And you can really tell that the person that made it really felt like Spawn was the coolest character of all time. Which I guess you should...
chains. Kids love chains.
Yeah, right? Apparently, right? I didn't know that there was such a deep correlation with that. But besides the actual factual movie... They're going to be adapting The Long Halloween for the DC animated universe. And
now, is it the animated universe where it's Batman, Bad Blood, and stuff like that?
I'm thinking so, which is really going to mess with things because Death of Superman is in that universe, if I'm not mistaken. But then they had to play with the continuity and the timeline to put the death that took place in the 90s chronologically after storylines like Bad Blood, which take after storylines that are more modern.
Truth be told, I don't care for that version of their animated universe.
Yeah.
But I love the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm stuff.
Yeah.
That's my universe. Like, that version of Superman the animated series, is one of my, like, all-time favorite animated series. Like, I would say, and this is like a hot take, but... I think it's better than Batman the Animated Series.
Wow.
Yeah. And I used to do a Batman podcast called Inside the Batcave. So
yeah.
Just letting y'all know, that's where my allegiances really are.
When I think of a lot of people think of Man of Steel when they think of if you don't like Superman, watch this movie and you'll like him. I
want to see a joyless Superman where he doesn't.
I went off. Initially I really, really liked it because of the aesthetics.
I was bored.
And then afterwards, after doing some thinking, I've really, really got an axe to grind with that film. And to the point that we did an entire episode where I'm just lambasting the Kents as the worst parents in probably comic book movie history.
No, son, you shouldn't help people. You should let them all die.
Including me in a tornado.
And then he got his hero cake.
But mine is Superman versus the Elite. I think Superman versus the Elite is a film where he faces off against superhero. Well, not initially faces off, but superheroes from across the world join into a team called the Elite, where they're not scared to straight up kill criminals.
And then they form their own wrestling promotion called All Elite Wrestling.
That's it. That's exactly how that happens. And then Superman gets put on that team, but they got to go over like contract negotiations and stuff. I mean,
then there's just nothing but super kicks.
Yeah, but there is gems in that animated universe. I do think that yes, there was a decided turn and creative change that did make them sort of devolve. A lot of the animation isn't as sharp as it used to be. I went to the theater and was disappointed in The Killing Joke.
Boy,
animated,
that movie.
Yeah, I'm like, I wanted Batman to do Batgirl because...
Truth be told, The Killing Joke story...
I feel another hot take coming.
I'm agreeing with Alan Moore. And I mean, he's a warlock and probably would, like, cast a spell on me.
He prays to a serpent, yeah.
But...
Who doesn't?
Most rational people, But he hates The Killing Joke, and he says like it's one of like my least favorite stories. And I used to love that story.
Yeah.
And then I reread it in time for Killing Joke, and I'm just like,
whoa, we are good to go.
I reread it, and I'm just like, no, it doesn't age. And like the funniest thing is, for years I would I would buy people copies of that as a gift for them.
Just to get them.
I gave one to my best friend John, my best friend Josh. They have copies of that because of me. And then, like, it took me years to get my own official copy. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, oh, let me read it.
See, a little bit of that speaks to me of the, like, I'm in the middle with the Joker film. I think Joaquin Phoenix is amazing, and I like the Joker character. What keeps me trepidatious is we seem to be in this weird love affair with the character.
Yeah, that he's the only villain you need.
Yeah.
Again, just like, let's push Batman.
Right.
He's got other villains.
Yeah.
And here's another, like, controversial one, maybe, I guess. But Dark Knight, Two-Face was underrated in that movie. He was really good.
I also agree. Considering he had no powers, just like Joker, he's sadistic. He claims to be playing for, law and the good side and what's right and fair.
Oh, wait, wrong.
But, I am the law. No, my thing for him is, we were trying to be decent men in an indecent time. He was very upset. But you got Joker, and I don't want to get to a point where I feel sorry for him. Now
really?
I get. Now this is what puts me in this weird moral conundrum, because people can redeem themselves, right? And I want to believe that some of these movies are preaching that message. I want people to believe that not everybody, you can just write them off as human beings because of mistakes made or how they react to trauma. I feel like the difference between a hero and a villain is literally that. Everyone goes through trauma. Villain uses it as an excuse to kind of be a dick, and the hero uses it as fuel to make sure that no more of that drama affects other people.
Back when I was in college, I wrote a paper, and I correlated Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto with the Batman mythos, and I did a damn good argument for that. Where one was one of them was the bourgeoisie, and one was the proletariat. Yeah. Offhand, I don't remember which one was the ruling class and working class, but
bourgeoisie sounds like fancy, so I'm gonna go.
Joker was a part of the working class, and Batman was a part of the ruling class, and like it was just classism. And I like wrote this detailed paper, man, and I was like bringing points like why we should feel bad for the Joker sometimes. Yeah, but I agree that, like I said, everyone has redeeming qualities, and that we should be looking for the good in people. I just don't necessarily know if I'm ready for the Joker was right. Hashtag Joker was right.
You know what I'm saying?
That hashtag?
I don't know if I'm ready for that, man. And I'm like I said, that's why I think the best part of Killing Joke is when he says that maybe that story was a lie, because you're like, the whole time you're like, wow, he really just kept falling on his face, and he was just trying to do what was right, and literally just kept stumbling. I know what that feels like. I know what one bad day could do to somebody. But then he goes like, well, maybe that's not true. I like to have my past be multiple choice. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. He just come up, and same thing with Dark Knight. You want to feel bad for him. You're like, wow, his dad beat his mom, but that's not that. Maybe that's not the story. Wow, he cut his wife's face. Well, maybe that's not the story. And so I'm scared of it being to a point where, because you've seen the meme, right?
We live in a society.
Oh, that and the OG one, which was, I grew up thinking Batman was right, but now that I'm older, I feel like the Joker makes more sense or something like that. And I saw this whole long a video essay about how the Joker is a nihilist. And I don't know if I agree. I do think that he believes in things.
My boy Thanos is.
Oh yeah, right. I do believe that especially in The Dark Knight, he plays off as a man who was recently hurt or recently got all his hopes dashed, or his hopes of humanity or hopes of what's right and what's fair recently got dashed, and now he has to, because his personal parade was rained on, he must now rain on Gotham.
Right.
And now, because and this just works with pessimism in general, right? I go through a bad day, so I have to tell everybody else that the world is crap, because if it's not crap, then that one bad day was just by chance.
That's me when I go to comic shops and they don't have a book I'm looking for. I just get really pissy.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't, in a world where DC's so dark, I don't know if it could survive the upside down of Joker being right. Because if we already got Superman wrong in Man of Steel, and then Joker starts being right, where are we?
I don't want Hunka to be right. I really don't.
Where are we? You don't want to. He was like snarling in half that movie. And,
man, like, Leto was the biggest letdown. Leto was a letdown.
But it was condoms, Peter. He gave people condoms.
Stop that.
He gave people. I don't know why, but that's what the man did.
I remember. Oh God.
But yeah, that's enough of looking into the future. Let's get into the past, because I there's a reason why I wanted to do comic book movie sequels. We could do, and we probably will eventually do, just bad comic book movies, poorly made, poorly written, poorly acted and scripted comic book movies. But I think it's a true gem when a good comic book movie can come out and fail to capitalize past that. I think in a lot of ways the groundwork is set, and people are already buying into your idea because of the first film and the success of the first film. So it really takes a whopper of a bad sequel to sour the taste in people's mouths. Some of the movies we'll be talking about today ended franchises, ended character interest for decades, ended some actors' careers, directors' careers. Some of these movies are synonymous with the worst of the worst that bad movies, when they're spoken about in hushed tones, some of these movies make that list. But
one of these actually lost interest in a genre for a couple of years.
Which is humongous when you consider the amount of
which one I'm talking about.
When you consider the amount of money that this genre has made, it's bonkers that this would do that to a whole fan base. But off the top, I wanted to go shot for shot with you. We'll name I'll name what I consider the 5 worst comic book movie sequels, and you can follow suit. We can go 5 for 5, and then we'll just talk about bad comic book movie sequels in general. But I was more curious as to what was your deciding factors on a list like this. Is it something that was decidedly worse from the first? Is it just a bad movie on the sake of it being a standalone bad film? Is it an acting thing? Is it a maybe a dishonest portrayal of the character? What did you work with when you were making up this list?
I go with the storytelling aspect as well as the, how do I say, not really the acting, because sometimes these movies can be really good and the acting is hokey. For example, the first Spider-Man movie is a pretty good movie.
Yes.
But it's so hokey.
The homeboy is chewing up the scenery.
What's his name?
Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
Is chewing up.
I'm something of a fish man myself.
Every week I say at one point, Mary Jane and I are gonna have a hell of a time. and
it's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind. It's like,
the deliver us from evil scene where he comes in on Aunt May. Finish it. It's so from evil. And it's like, all right. Yeah, I went with that though.
I forgot about that scene.
I'm telling you, bro, that makes the movie. He just randomly busting through her hospital thing.
Like Run DMC in the Aerosmith video.
And he's like, by the way, oh my God, Norman is. But he's a gem in that. So that's funny too, because a lot of that's gonna play into this. Like some of that makes it enjoyable. It's not necessarily something you just write off and stuff.
Absolutely.
But so the acting isn't all of it. Do you find that a lot of these were easy to come up with? They came right to them.
It was actually a little difficult. because some movie sequels I haven't even seen. Like some of the ones you had mentioned, I was like, oh, I haven't actually seen that. For example, Superman movies, I've only seen, I believe, of the Christopher Reeve, the first two. I've never
which
seen
you're doing yourself a favor. Yeah,
I know, but again, as a canon fan, I really want to watch Nuclear Man.
Yeah.
So with this, I also go with disservice to the source material, and I'm also one of those where I champion. You don't have to be like, guy, why are you doing disservice to the book? Yeah. But sometimes you're just like, wow, they really, screwed the pooch on this. Like, you couldn't get that right.
I find that when the movie is good, I could care less about how to the T they portrayed the characters. Yeah. It's when the movie is bad that I go, you guys had a template that was fine. There was no reason to switch up from the template.
Thor Ragnarok does not follow the source material, like most of it. It doesn't really follow most of it. And it changes the tone, but it does a success.
Yeah. And I also feel like in a weird way, it captured the kookiness of Kirby's space Marvel, all that stuff. And there's an audience for that, So Absolutely. They, it's not as cut and dry as you would think. And another thing is having a good film, the first film or a second film be good is not as cut and dry. We're on the 20th Marvel film?
Captain Marvel will be the 21st.
Yeah, so we're up on the 20th Marvel film, and the fact that they're still good is a big deal. It should be a big deal because a lot of movies on this list, by the time you get to number 3, some of these are unwatchable.
Even Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 3, which are considered, they're reviled as the worst of the MCU. Guess what, people? They're still kind of passable because when you look at Rotten Tomatoes, which some fanboys, dear Lord, they will vehemently go against that site. But they're still pretty solid movies.
It's true.
And they're not, like, Thor: The Dark World is no Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or 2. I'm a big champion for Volume 2 being the better one. And according to the Marvelous ranking, number 1. But, you just gotta realize, wow, even, like, their quote-unquote dismounts are pretty solid landings.
Yeah. And with Thor: The Dark World, I feel like for all its misgivings, it is the sequel to Thor 1. Yeah. It is very much in that same vein of that first film. Now, whether or not you like that first film, I think that
actually, if I remember correctly, no, I liked Thor a lot.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
I like that unworthy scene. You're unworthy!
They're so solid.
He does. Like I said. In the Dark World, if only for this, they bring Jane Foster into Asgard, and Odin shows up, and he's like, "What is she doing here?" And then they're like, "Oh, we need her." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "She's as welcome here as like a pig at a banquet table or something like that." And I was like, "Wow, Odin, you're just coming in kind of strong there." He's trying to Anthony Hopkins, and then by the time you get to the third movie, he's all like, "Yeah, I got a big threat. I think I'm just gonna die now. I'm
gonna wear dad jeans,
and I'm gonna wear a Pottery Barn eye patch, and we're just gonna
That is still one of the most out there things I've ever seen in a Marvel movie. Like, why is he going to a retirement home now?
Yeah, he's been chilling. He got exiled from Asgard, and he's just been chilling. He's not mad. He don't have any vengeance in his heart. None of that. He's kind of chill. He thought about it. Now he's just gonna die. That's his.
I guess I'm gonna die now, like the meme says.
Well, I guess it goes without saying. My number 5 is going to be Superman 4, A Quest for Peace. I mean, it might fall into that whole "it's so bad it's good" category, but I think that the biggest problems with the film is that I honestly feel like they did not know where to go. But there's obviously budget cuts. There's humongous budget cuts. This film probably is viewed more as a worse film because of the inclusion of Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve being the continuity glue. If this was another Superman, this would just be a failed Superman movie.
And the only reason he did this movie was because he wanted to do his own film, Street Smarts, for Canon.
Yeah.
And, man, Canon was a company that, you're looking at their movies, they were, like, responsible for a lot of Chuck Norris movies. They were the people that gave Charles Bronson, a career resurgence in the 1980s with the gigantic guns in Death Wish. And they're also responsible for unleashing Jean-Claude Van Damme on the world with my personal favorite movie from Canon, Bloodsport. but that's just me.
This movie was on a budget of $17 million, and it made $15.6 million.
Well, I would imagine as much.
So, like, the idea of a Superman movie under $20 million and then not breaking even is pretty big. And this is a film that comes out 2 years prior to Batman '89, which broke open the genre again. So, it had to make my list because if you're looking at bad Superman movies, you could go no further than Superman 4. But I would argue that I could change it at any point for Superman Returns with Brandon Routh.
I've never seen that one, and I've heard people champion it in the sense of it's like the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
But I've also heard why it's just it's not good.
Well, it's the idea like they could make an Adam West-esque Batman film.
Yeah.
But would it for what and to what end? Are they all then going to be Adam West Batman films?
Well, they did kind of make a Adam West Batman film, and that's my number 5. Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. Wait, where do you... Now I'm curious, because now that we've linked that, where do you put that Batman film? Where do you put Adam West Batman film? Is it one of the best, one of the worst?
I don't even rank it with those, to be honest. Like, it just feels like an extended episode of the show.
I agree.
And, man, the whole thing with Batman Forever, I will say, I have very fond memories of that movie without having seen it in 1995. I was a big subscriber of Disney Adventures magazine. I would always see the advertisements. I got the special issue where they promoted it, and I loved all the stuff, but I never saw the movie. I never saw the movie until 2007. Wow. I was watching all the movies right before I graduated high school, and I marathoned them all. And then I got to the other one, which maybe one of us will discuss. We haven't figured that out, but yeah. But Batman Forever was very just hokey.
Yeah.
And it got a lot of the elements of what makes Batman 66 work. Like, they were like, oh, people like this about Batman 66, let's do that. And they failed with that execution. Yet
I don't think the commitment was there. They knew what beats that they wanted, but I don't feel like they had the spirit that it should.
They understood the color. They absolutely understood that.
I actually just watched it recently because I was trying to figure out... I don't have Batman and Robin on my list, but I think it goes without saying that a lot of people do consider it one of the worst comic book movie sequels of all time, and what probably tanked Batman for quite some time. I actually think it's the 1-2 punch of Forever and Batman and Robin, because in the same way that I think you don't get BVS without the missteps of Man of Steel, I don't think you get Batman and Robin without the missteps of Forever.
Yeah.
And Forever had this weird tangential tie to Burton's stuff, while also still trying to do the new Schumacher stuff. You got a Batmobile that's ribbed for her pleasure. You got Dr. Chase Meridian, who just shows up in lingerie and flicks bat signals.
My favorite moment, and I credit the guys from We Hate Movies, which, by the way, I want to mention, they have a recurring thing. If you disagree with us on any of our picks and our opinions on this, to quote them, it's all right to like a movie.
It's true.
And they always point out, and I've done this at cons, the line where they're in the circus, and you hear Batman yell, "Harvey, I'm Batman!"
Oh, yeah.
I've done that at cons.
And no one could hear him.
I've yelled that at cons, and let me tell you, man, I've had fun with that line. And people get it, too.
In that scene, Harvey may not be able to hear him, but the people next to him should be, right? And they should be like, did that guy just say he was Batman?
Yeah.
That's Bruce Wayne. He just said he was Batman. You got Laundry Fu in that film, where Dick Grayson is doing his laundry like it's kung fu. He has like sock nunchucks and all kinds of stuff. You have the recurring joke of that whole series where somebody just stumbles onto the Batcave, the super secret, I need a pneumatic tube to get to it, a Batcave. Dick Grayson just stumbles in, and he just finds everything. And I also love that whenever anyone stumbles in the Batcave, it doesn't do like how in Batman Forever, Batman parks the Batmobile and then presses like a button and like this metal shell thing comes over the whole thing, right? In Batman Forever and in Batman and Robin, whenever random people just show up to the Batcave, the car presents itself, the computers all turn on. I'm like, this is the worst security system ever. It's like, intruder alert. By the way, I'm Batman. This is all my bat stuff. Here's my car. You like my car? And when Riddler comes in later and blows everything up, everything's there. Everything is, there's no protocols, none of that stuff. And Alfred brought Vicky Vale into the Batcave. He made a suit for Dick because Dick's like, oh, he goes, who's your tailor? Remember? He's like, who's your tailor? He did that. He does some kind of backdoor stuff with Barbara. It's not Barbara Gordon. It's like Barbara Pennyworth or something like that in Batman. In Batman and Robin.
Niece.
Yeah, his niece from England. You know, Alicia Silverstone and her beautiful England accent.
Yeah, I love that accent.
English accent. She's like, suit me up, Uncle Alfred. Alfred's just like, he does not care in those series of films. Everyone gets a suit. Everyone gets in the Batcave. He's just probably bored.
I would imagine.
He's just bored. My problem with Batman Forever is it's loud.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is like visually loud, and it's also the score is like really bombastic, but more in a way that it's kind of holding your hand and telling you how you're supposed to feel as opposed to what's actually happening.
It's also just, it's a movie where the casting choices didn't fit.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer is surprisingly a great comedic actor. If you've never seen the movie Real Genius, I highly recommend checking that out. It's got one of my all-time favorite lines. I want to see more of you around the lab. All right, I'll gain weight. So it's just a lot of stuff like that. And to see him play this role, he just did not work as Batman for me. He didn't have the persona. He didn't have the intensity. When you look at Keaton was Batman.
Yeah.
Keaton was unhinged. And again, comedic actor doing that stuff. How does that work?
Yeah.
But it did.
I Kilmer's all right. I think his stoic Batman's okay. I think stoic Bruce Wayne is okay. I think Batman is a little bit too, and that's where we get Bat. But
unfortunately,
in that film, Tommy Lee Jones is out of control in that film. He's just literally. I had this conversation the other day. I'm like, there's the part of that character is a duality, but you never see the other side of Harvey Dent in that film. It's literally just purple Two-Face the entire time.
How would you have felt if they kept Billy D. Williams though as Two-Face?
That would have been so cool. That would have been so cool, and then you could have got the smoothness of Billy D. and then just the erratic behavior. But it felt almost like
what have we here?
It felt almost as if they told both Riddler and Two-Face to play the Joker in this film. And they both were like, okay, I'll do it in my way. And in a lot of ways, what Jim Carrey was with the Joker is what Will Smith was with Deadshot, in the sense that just be you. Like, I get that there's there's character beats, but you're more important than those character beats. Just do what you do. Do the Ace Ventura stuff. Do the liar stuff.
A lot of scenery was chewed in that movie.
There's a lot of that hunka stuff you kind of get. That Jared Leto stuff is kind of Riddler. It's kind of Jim Carrey's. That was
what he based part of it on.
It invokes it. I know it.
I can see that.
I know it. It definitely invokes it. Riddler has kind of been a redhead, but not like an orange fiery.
No, he was not.
Redhead. So that was a little bit off, but they wanted to make it bigger. They wanted to stretch out Gotham, and I don't think you see how quiet Batman Begins is almost in comparison to those two films. Very mute, very serious, very. We're taking our time telling the story. You don't have you'll feel the beats. We don't have to tell you when they're coming. You'll feel them. Where the other one was really, really just loud, and so I definitely agree with you on that. I think that and the Chris O'Donnell stuff again. I'm gonna get some hate for it, but I think that they need to. If you're gonna put in Robin, I think that you should try the kid angle. I think we're at a point where with Kick-Ass, if you can do Hit Girl, cutting people's heads off at 7 years old and stuff like that. If it's a child in danger, you tend to be a little bit more like. There's more stakes. There's higher stakes, but Chris O'Donnell's like 40 in that, and so you're just like,
no, he's a teenager. I don't know if you know that.
His parents die, and Bruce Wayne just takes him home.
What? I got a souvenir from the circus.
Yeah, like what in what world? Even if he's 18, 17, they'd probably just be like, we'll put you in a home for 6 months until you're legal, and then you'll do what you want. But a millionaire just like, that was pretty sad what happened to you. I'm going to bring you to my house, and you can live there from now on. and then you could also fight crime with me in the dark. It was just weird.
Did he even do the adoption papers? I don't think he did.
They just show a vehicle. I watched it the other day. They show the vehicle driving to the Wayne Manor, and then the motorcycle following behind it. And then Bruce Wayne comes out, so I was like, I guess Bruce is not in the vehicle, and it's not. It's Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon goes up to Bruce and goes, real cool of you to take him in like this. That was it.
That was nice.
And what they tell Grayson? Just show up to Wayne Manor. He says he wants to see you. He wants to lick you up and down. He wants to make sure that you're all healthy and stuff.
Oh, this went a completely different turn.
Yes, and it probably would. Let me continue this worst of the worst is Crap Fest with my number 4, which is Iron Man 3. Iron
Man 3 was a movie that when I initially saw it, I loved it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is the charm of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
You can, if you watch any Robert Downey Jr. movie, you can just watch that guy go, forever. But I think on the strength of it being an Iron Man film, or just there's an entry into MCU, not only do I feel like it's sort of forgettable, but I think you can remove it from the canon, and a lot of the history still not only maintains but makes more sense.
I would agree.
Absolutely. I say constantly that you need to remove either this or Age of Ultron, because in this he blows up all his suits, and in Age of Ultron he has a bunch of new suits. So you either have to get rid of him saying he wants to blow them up, or you have to get rid of all the new suits in Age of Ultron.
Just can't decide.
And so there's that. How do you feel about that Mandarin twist? As a Marvel fan, as a somebody who's in the bag for this stuff.
Say it again, please.
The Mandarin twist.
Okay, so this is one where I enjoy the Mandarin persona, and I feel that the twist with slattery, that I didn't mind.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, because you look at the original Mandarin, I was going through my Marvelous year from Comic Book Herald, who just has a new podcast starting up for them.
Awesome.
And I was I was like reading the Mandarin early appearances. That is the single most racist character I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And hearing these people, like, I will hear, why aren't they making it more like the source material? Sometimes you don't want the source material.
At one point, wasn't he straight up green? I think like in the animated show, he was straight up green, like foreign. Like, you're so foreign, you're not even the same color as normal people. And it does feel like a caricature at many points.
Yeah.
I can tell you, and Iron Man 3 is not bad enough that I don't watch it on occasion.
It's like, again, to quote the boys from We Hate Movies, it's a hangover film. Like, that's the kind of movie you just put on, whatever, you're watching that.
I put it on the other day because I remembered that it's sort of kind of a Christmas movie.
Right?
I think that the only Christmas movies, and you could chime in if you know any others, that are comic book related are that and Batman Returns.
I was going to say that, Batman Returns.
Those are very Christmas heavy. But I remember thinking, and I still think, that the beginning iconography of the Mandarin is terrifying.
Yeah. It's like this straight up viral terrorist.
Oh my God. You see like scenes of like children coming to embrace him full of the rings, and effigies of the president on fire. Yeah. And that whole, and you'll never see me coming. I was saying that for weeks because of his delivery was so, time to learn another lesson, America. And all that was so good.
A fortune cookie.
Yeah, it's Chinese.
Where's the Mandarin? Eddie, thank you. I got your line out.
Did Eddie Wilson like the Mandarin twist?
We always jokingly... Oh, he said, if I remember correctly, he was fine with the Mandarin twist.
Okay.
Not 100%. People out there listen to the show, give that a listen, our Iron Man 3 episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I did the dance. I don't know why.
I like the dance.
Thank you.
Did you see the one shot that fixes the Mandarin?
That was the one where he's in prison, and we also see the return of my boy, Justin Hammer.
One of the best parts of the Iron Man franchise, to be honest with you. That dance he does when he comes out to the expo, it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in cinematic history.
Hammer is one of the most underrated villains in the whole MCU. He's great value, off-brand Tony Stark, and it's perfect.
Yeah. I almost feel like Aldrich is like a cheap version of that. Like, without the chemistry, he's just...
Okay, if Justin Hammer is the Walmart great value, mm-hmm. Aldrich is the Aldi version.
That's a deep cut.
Oh, Hell yeah, it
That's a
is.
deep cut.
But he's that. He's Aldi.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you can get some great stuff from Aldi, but really?
Yeah.
You're going to go...
Don't go there for your sushi.
Yeah. No.
This movie made over $1 billion, though. Iron Man 3.
Again, I believe it. It's like, it's strong enough just on the name alone. Iron Man. Oh, crap. There's a new Iron Man movie out. I better bring the kids.
Yeah. And there's definitely some funny moments. I like all his interactions with the child.
Yeah.
I like when he's especially being a dick to the kid. I like when he's being like Tony Stark businessman with it. But there's a lot in that film. Do you have many MCU movies on your list?
On my list, I have none.
None. Is that a bias, sir?
No, because there are some Marvel movies that you're going to hear in here.
Definitely. How do you feel about Iron Man 2?
Iron Man 2 was... My first viewing was date night with my ex.
Okay.
And I'm sitting the entire time, like, trying not to get close to him. Like, I don't know what we're doing. So
right.
That is my memory of the movie. And I didn't care much for it during that viewing, also because of that experience.
Yeah.
But during rewatches, I've enjoyed parts of it. I feel Mickey Rourke's character is vastly underrated, but he's, again, forgotten.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought it was, like, during rewatches for The Marvelists, I thought it's okay. It's not the top tier. It's, like, maybe middle towards the bottom.
Yeah.
But again, it's not Incredible Hulk bad. I didn't care for that movie. And
I've had people say that that's their favorite MCU movie, which is... I mean, again, teach his own. Love your movies. I'm with it. Defend it. That's why we do this.
I'm a Mark Ruffalo guy. Can't diss my boy Mark.
Iron Man 2 didn't feel like it moved the goalpost much.
It didn't really help anything.
As far as that concerned. And then 3 to me, because it's on my list,
feels almost... 3.
No, 2 is the one I felt like didn't really move the goalpost.
3 was the one that didn't for me. Didn't do anything.
3 for me feels like if Iron Man was a television show, this would have been the Christmas movie on that network. You understand? Like, It has the characters that you know, and we'll play around with that, but this is more for the lesson of everyone just be a good person, and we'll tie it up there. There's a lot of people, I think that Gwyneth Paltrow gets an unneeded amount of hate, but I don't have anything against her. How do you feel about Gwyneth Paltrow in the series?
I thought in 3, at least, it was cool to see her go into the suit finally. Like,
yeah, and do some stuff.
It was something we didn't want. Like, we didn't ask to see, but when it happens, it's like, oh, that is kind of cool. I didn't think that would happen.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now we need to get Happy Hogan in the suit.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want to see Jon Favreau running around with a, booster.
I actually think that he's also a hidden gem in those movies.
Yes.
When in 3, when he's talking about he doesn't know how to flip the screen on the tablet. He's like, I don't know how to do it. What are you talking about?
I'm a fan of him with his interactions with Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He wants nothing to do with him. He can't stand the little kid.
And written with a comedic flair that a main character would have.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he comes in, when Spider-Man's like telling his story to his friend on the phone, he's like, yeah, and I did this, I did that. And he just comes in and goes, we got thin walls here. I thought that was, his comedic performance I thought was absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's my number 4 is Iron Man 3. What do you got in your 4th place?
Mine is so it's a movie that we're about to cover on the Marvelists. You're going to hear this episode, I guess, within the next week or so. But Blade Trinity. Blade Trinity is, out of all the movies I've seen in my life, it's one of them. And
that's true.
It's so...
And it has a Pomeranian in it.
It sure did.
And it's a vampire.
And
a vampiric Pomeranian. And you know what? I remember thinking at the time, you want to cast a wrestler, you don't cast Edge in this? Like,
or Christian.
Or Gangrel. Gangrel's not doing anything. You slide him in there.
I mean, he's directing porn now.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of bloodletting.
I didn't need to know. Now you all know it.
The Impaler. Yeah. That all makes sense now.
Oh!
But yeah, Ryan Reynolds also in that. He does this Origins Wolverine and Green Lantern. Poor guy before he gets this Deadpool role.
We were saying though on our episode of the Marvelists, a little sneak peek, it's like his audition for Deadpool.
Yeah.
And Hannibal King, I actually like the character. Like there's not much memorable about this movie. That's the problem with Blade Trinity. It's a very forgettable movie.
Yeah.
When you look at the 2 films that preceded it, it doesn't have things that make the other 2 work.
Right.
And
I also feel like in a way it kind of distances itself from Blade. like
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's like Well, Blade's in it, but we also have all these people.
It's Blade and friends.
Heatwave's in it. Heatwave plays Dracula, the guy who plays Heatwave in Legends of Tomorrow and The Flash. He plays Dracula. I can't remember. Dominic. He's in Prison Break. Dominic.
Not Cooper, because that's Jesse Custer.
But like sometimes looking at the comic book DNA of some of these actors, like going, "Wow, you went from here to here and here to here." They were David S. Goyer, wasn't he on this?
Patton Oswalt is in it too.
Yeah, I've heard he's had some stories about Blade 3.
Oh, he sure has, and that's the problem with this movie. It's much maligned, and you can see that it is. There's a lot of creative directional problems, and Wesley is not even really there.
Yeah.
And kind of is a shame, you know? You want all of these characters to matter.
Yeah. And he was a tour de force in that first film, you know? So, like, to try to move on without him or around him, like, we just place people around. Like, Jessica Biel does nothing in that film.
The only character of importance in the film was Ryan Reynolds, which is funny. Can
you remind me how how Whistler is alive? Because I remember watching Blade 1 recently, and he
dies in Trinity.
But doesn't he shoot himself in Blade 1? He's like bit, and they give him a gun, and you hear a gunshot. And
he's like Kenny on South Park. He's just gonna keep coming.
Yeah, he just got Whistler. He just keeps showing up. I thought that was kind of odd, but
And with Blade Trinity, it has the single most useless post-credit scene in a movie ever.
Oh my god, I forget it.
Literally just him driving in a car. And then it goes to credit, or goes to black.
It just lets you know that he's still out there driving?
He's still driving after riding on his motorcycle in the opposite direction of traffic.
Blade Trinity comes out in 2004. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 25%.
What a shock.
Budget of $65 million. It made $128. But a lot of these third movies do because they've already got a built-in brand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But 2004, I mean, we're still trying to figure out what this genre is about, right? In 2004. Yeah. But I don't think we're that far off to get this film. Like, I don't think we're in the dark ages to be like, well, this,
I'm also going to give my other grievance with Blade Trinity. And my partner, Eddie Wilson, he laughs at me when I say this, but because when I'm off mic, not in a PG-13 rating setting, I curse a lot.
Right.
And for me, Blade Trinity was an example of a movie where characters just swear for the sake of swearing. It doesn't have any value to it.
Right.
And it's literally the equivalent of a child who just learned all these words. I'm going to use these words and sound mature and adult.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Stop it.
Which also speaks to what you were saying earlier about Ryan Reynolds seeming like Deadpool. That's where you get that kind of foul-mouthed, quippy stuff. Because he
a lot of lines were improvised.
There's a pretty profane name he calls somebody. Some knuckle, some kind of
juggling thunder sea.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yes, that's exactly what it is. And it's like, wow, where did that come from? Just like, where did the Pomeranian come from? Just like, why do we have to fight Dracula? Why is there a team? You think Blade 2 is better than 1?
Oh yeah, I mean Del Toro. It's Del Toro essentially auditioning to do Hellboy.
Yeah, because you got, Perlman's in it too.
Mignola's in Blade 2 as well. He's involved as I believe one of the storyboard artists and everything. He was involved in the production of the movie.
That makes a lot of sense.
So,
do you think that better Blade movies could have competed with what was coming out at the time, the Spider-Mans and the X-Men?
Here's the thing about the Blade movies, how I've seen it. David S. Goyer is embarrassed of doing comic book movies. I've said this for years. And when you look at the Blade movies, no one realizes they're comic book movies.
You're right. You're right. I remember thinking for a time I didn't even know, which stories and characters were, based on comics. And when you say that, when doing the research for the Man of Steel episode, I saw that he said that Ma and Pa is anachronistic. Like, people don't say that anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? People call their parents Ma and Pa.
There's this place called the Midwest where they still say that stuff.
There's places around the world, like, just because in your pocket or in your world, like, that's the whole point of the farm boy thing, is like bringing it back to the heartland and being more old fashioned. But for you to just be like, it's the whole thing of like, we need to reinvent something other. Like, these things have lasted 75, 80 years, some of them.
Yeah.
Why are we going back to the drawing board. Like, I get changing aesthetics and modernizing things, but this whole we need to redefine what I think is kind of a joke. The success of the Nolan series probably hinges on the idea that they try to be as least comic book as possible.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel, would it have competed? It was gonna go more against big budget action movies and horror movies, stuff like that. Like they didn't consider comic book movies competition because it was this.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until the third movie where I believe they finally included the Marvel logo in there.
Yeah,
and then I guarantee you somebody's going to see it. They're like, wait, Marvel? What?
Yeah, Marvel movie, comic books. What's going on here?
So it's essentially that.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that you were not in the bag for the Sticky Fingers series, Blade series.
On Spike TV.
The short-lived, us, first Spike. The short-lived series. That's hilarious. I mean, I heard they are trying again, aren't they? I heard they're trying to reboot that whole Blade thing.
Once again, Schrodinger's Wesley Snipes is either involved with Marvel Studios or is not. He's both.
Because, that movie is completely 90s. So if we're taking another swing at Spawn, I could see them doing another swing.
I would love to see Wesley back, like, behind the sunglasses. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, there's not many people that's going to get that tattoo on the back of the neck. Yeah. So, I mean, if he's still in it, I'm with it. My number 3 is Kick-Ass 2, which I believe you haven't seen.
I have not. And that was one of those I just didn't care enough to go see it.
Did you read Kick-Ass 2?
I've read Kick-Ass 1 and 2.
How does 2 play in the books? Does it feel better than 1? Does it feel more structured than 1?
You can't go home. It's one of those, like, the first Kick-Ass is one of the best comic books, like, when I got back in 2011.
Yeah.
It's great. Kick-Ass 2, it has parts where it's good, but it doesn't compare to the original. You just can't.
I felt like the first Kick-Ass in many ways was original and self-contained. And 2, it felt like they didn't really know what to do, so they just started adding. It's the same Blade Trinity issue. We'll just add in more characters because that's what people like, more characters. And they took what was what I don't think are the hallmarks of Kick-Ass and went large in them. A lot of like poop humor and sex stuff, which happens in the comics as well, but to a point. A lot of it gets back to being serious. A lot of even the film at points gets back to you realizing that there's stakes to be had. 2 doesn't feel like any of that. 2 just feels like a romp, a kind of like send up of superhero stuff, in a bad way, not in a we love it so we parody it. It feels like we're not really in the back of this. And Hit Girl was so dynamic in both the comics and the film for being a small child that I feel like that novelty kind of goes away. In the same way that the point that I made with Chris O'Donnell, I think that you eventually don't get the same Hit Girl because she's older. And I know that may sound mean, right? Like I know that may sound like probably not the nicest thing to say, but the child, the gimmick works because it's a child, because she's a small child. When you start playing into junior high school, early high school Hit Girl, it just feels weird, especially when you don't really know how the main character. They almost play with a romance a little bit in the film. Do they do that in the book?
I haven't touched the book in so many years.
It was this weird, I'm not with any of this. When y'all first met, you were like 14 and she was like 4. Like I'm not with, Listen, all I gotta say is we got R&B singers currently dealing with the repercussions of doing stuff like this. I don't necessarily want to see it in my superhero films.
What about Wheelchair Jimmy from Degrassi?
Oh,
now.
Oh my God, that is not going. I've heard some stranger things, but
wow.
but it doesn't help the fact that the first movie was known for its gratuitous language and violence. So the second one doubles down on that. And then one of the most highest marquee characters or actors on this film, Jim Carrey, comes out and he's like, this was terrible. We should have never done this, because the Sandy Hook murders had just happened.
Yes.
The Sandy Hook shooting. And so he's like, oh yeah, I denounced this film. I denounced gun violence. I should have never did it. Don't go see it. And people were like, what?
And no one went to see it.
And then no one went to see it. And so it's so weird for them to denounce it the way that they did, but they did. And I think all of that screams bad sequel. I think all of that, you actually saved yourself some trouble. I have it because I wanted both to remind myself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember watching, getting ready for the podcast where we did Kick-Ass 1, I watched both to try to gauge, and I watched the first one, I'm like, I remember this. It felt like a refreshing drink that you haven't had in a while. And the second one felt like homework. Like, okay, what? An hour left? All right.
I'm a completionist with a lot of this stuff. So, like, I understand the whole, I got to get that version too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I understand.
I was looking through my DVDs, and I saw that I had Fan 4 Stick. And I was like, why did I buy that?
Dude, I have it on DVD and Blu-ray. So,
see, and it must literally just be, I wanted them all. I wanted all the comic book movies, so that's how I got that.
I own Jonah Hex. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I've heard it's terrible.
I haven't seen it either, but that's Brolin. That's Brolin, you know, starting his comic book stuff. Yeah, Kick-Ass 2. That's my number 3.
I mean, again, technically he was in Men in Black.
Yes, he was.
Which, wait, that was after.
They took way too long. But that's another thing. Sometimes when they take too long with these sequels, that's the death nail. That's the death nail right there, because people have lost their interest, and or you've forgotten what it was that took these original movies to where they are. I'm looking at you, Rush Hour 3.
And speaking of forgotten, I'm going to go with my number 3. X-Men Apocalypse. A movie so bad, I don't even remember most of it.
X-Men Apocalypse.
X-Men Apocalypse, a movie which, for no reason, had a Dragon Ball Z fight in the middle of it that lasted so damn long that I wanted it to end.
I remember thinking to myself, why is Magneto just floating there? He's just floating there in a ball of metal, and no one's touching him. No one's trying to touch him. At one point, they legit just go have a conversation with him. They pop Quicksilver over there, and Quicksilver's like, yeah, I think you're my pop and stuff. And it's real nonchalant. I have some qualms.
X-Men Apocalypse is a movie where halfway through the movie I was watching it and I forgot Apocalypse was the villain of the movie called X-Men Apocalypse. So it was a movie that you and I both talked off mic about it. They got very ballsy with one comment in the film.
Yes.
And it was a scene where you see, I believe, Gene and Scott going to go see, on date night, Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And as they walk out, the comment is made, the third movie of every trilogy is always the weakest one. You really shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, really, you played yourself.
Yeah.
You definitely played yourself with that. There are two main issues I have with X-Men Apocalypse, and they don't even have to do with Apocalypse. And the thing is, I do not like that character. I don't like the portrayal. I don't like the design of it, any of that stuff, because I'm real big on the lips go to the end of your face Apocalypse.
Yeah, I get
from the animated series.
Oh, yeah.
With the tubes hanging out everywhere and the big A on the belt. That's how you know he's Apocalypse.
Well, yeah, obviously. No,
branding, man.
He's Adam West, man.
You gotta have that. You gotta have the branding. The two main problems that I end up having is I think that they missed an incredible opportunity to recast Wolverine, because I think that by I remember thinking that Days of Future Past was up there to me with Flashpoint as one of the most ingenious ways to change your continuity. To use time travel and say, well, all those things that you remember before, they're all gone, and we're going to start straight from scratch. And so I loved First Class. And then you get Days of Future Past, and I'm like, okay, this is, I can play with this as long as they are tying that up. And Days of Future Past, they do. They tie up that timeline, and Wolverine wakes back up in that world, and that's a whole separate timeline from what we're dealing with now with McAvoy and Fassbender. So yeah. I'm like, we're finally good. We're free of the Singer X-Men. We're in this new territory, new young actors. We're good. And then Hugh Jackman shows up, and I'm like, I dig you as Wolverine, bro, but you legitimately you could have made a star in this moment. And the Weapon X. You have the whole Weapon X reveal, and I'm like, you could have done the movie without Wolverine. 2, if you had to do Wolverine, why this Wolverine? Why are we going back to this Wolverine again? Because guess what? Now with Dark Phoenix, we're going to be looking for Wolverine. Because Hugh Jackman ran away in Apocalypse. And so seemingly he's in the woods somewhere. He's going to come back to be a part of the X-Men.
Greatest showman.
Yes, that's what he's touring around singing
with
songs.
Zendaya.
And Wolverine has to come back. And when he comes back looking like, man, I don't even want to throw any names out there to jinx the casting, but when he comes back, and he doesn't look like Hugh Jackman, what does that even say?
Yeah.
And the shoehorned, Jean, unleash your power, is one of the funniest things. It's like if she could do this whole time, and you knew she could do this whole time, we wasted a whole bunch of time. Yeah. And not to mention that, ancient rituals will make you lose your hair. Sometimes.
Poor Charles.
Sometimes.
Poor Chuck.
He's like, all of it, a lot of it. And I went there very happy because, again, I was ready to see 90s X-Men. Storm, Jubilee sometimes.
Well, Jubilee was like the biggest bait and switch for me because I love the character of Jubilee.
Yeah.
And to see her like advertised in like there was a Charles Xavier's Mutant Academy viral video, and
I thought
it was
that was
the
pretty
cast.
cool, man.
Yeah, and she's like prominently in it.
It's like tracking and bad focus and all that stuff. It's
5 seconds
awesome.
in the actual movie.
It was awesome. Yeah, they had bad tracking in it. It seemed like a product of the 80s. Really, really well done. And then they didn't capitalize on it.
What I loved was originally, and I was waiting because I thought, oh, they're going to do this. At the end of that viral video, they included a phone number. And you call it, and Stan Lee, true believers. This is the Charles Xavier School. Blah blah blah.
That's pretty cool.
At the end, you could leave a voicemail.
I'm
like, oh, cool, and give your name and address. I'm like, oh, they're gonna give us some free swag. And then later that day, you call, they took that part off. And I was like, oh, so only the first X amount of people, no pun intended,
right?
Could get something free. Never got anything.
That's terrible.
So
so you felt cheated by the movie. Twice.
Kind of, yeah. But my problem with X-Men Apocalypse is it's just such a forgettable movie. Much like Blade Trinity, it's just a nothing film that they could have done so much. And to quote Krennic in Rogue One, you were this close to greatness.
That's it. My other quote from that is learning. Because he has to say out loud what he's doing while he's touching a television.
The only good thing about that movie was the Quicksilver scene, and I hate to say it, it's just a repeat of the previous Quicksilver scene.
It is. It just has a song you like more.
Yeah, I love the Eurythmics, so I don't mind.
Yeah, it just has a song that you like more. It's not on my list, but I think paired up with this, we have to talk Last Stand. And what hurts me about the Last Stand is I think it has one of the best comic book castings of all time, with the Beast as Kelsey Grammer.
Oh, for God's sakes!
I think my stars and garters.
He's perfect. He is so perfect,
and so he plays it so serious. He plays it so true to the character.
He's in blue makeup. Yeah,
it's the character, and he's wearing designer suits with fur sticking out of the neck and stuff. Where I felt like the way they play, is it Nicholas Hoult in the
I'm not sure
newer
the
films,
names.
but he never wants to be Beast. He's barely ever Beast. He's on serums to not be Beast. He's doing all kinds of yoga to not be Beast. Meanwhile, Kelsey Grammer's going to board meetings and he's chilling. He's blue. He knows he's blue and he's good. But I don't think we're ever gonna get that good of a Beast again. I don't know.
I hope we do one day. I mean, in all honesty, now with the Fox deal nearing completion, it's gonna happen. Honestly, I've been predicting with the MCU's introduction of the X-Men, we're going to get them giant-size X-Men #1 version on.
That's the best. That's the best route to go, I think. No.
I think it's going to be that. Then, the third X-Men movie, we're going to see, Kitty Pryde show up or something. And Kitty Pryde is a character that, even in the movies we've seen, they don't utilize that character whatsoever.
No.
Ellen Page is, just a one and done, and then
the extent of her in Last Stand is a foil for Rogue. A romantic foil for Rogue, and Iceman's in a love triangle. What parts of this movie? And Wolverine's in a love triangle. What is about this movie? I really dislike Last Stand, and I remember thinking, oh wow, they killed Cyclops off during the credits. This is the movie just started. Cyclops is dead. Oh, Professor X is dead now. Okay, this is getting kind of weird.
The thing with Last Stand was it was an average movie that it didn't need the Dark Phoenix subplot.
Yeah.
Much like another movie that we're going to get to. I believe we're getting to.
We'll
get to that.
We'll
discuss it.
But why the Phoenix? We spoke a little bit about this off air, but when I think of the X-Men, they're fighting other mutants or other threats to their race. Whereas I feel like these movies make it a point, ham-fistedly sometimes, that they always have to fight humans that are actively trying to make them extinct. As a novice to the comics, is that the case? Is it always evil humans
sometimes
fighting the X-Men?
But it's mostly superpowered mutants.
Okay.
It's usually that.
Trying to prey on humanity more?
Yeah. They're trying to... No, we're the good guys. Trust us. We're the good guys. We're the good mutants. Those are the bad mutants. Get away from them.
Right.
It's got to stick.
Because this is always... It always feels like it circles right back around to Jean Grey. Yeah. And even the comics, she just came back.
She came back recently, with the Matthew Rosenberg stuff.
Right, so I'm like, I don't know whether or not this is a trope or it's the best part of it. And I don't want it to be
the best part, to be honest, but Jean Grey was gone for so long, especially during the Claremont run. So when she finally does make her return, it's impactful, but she should have been gone for a lot longer. Yeah. That's just my opinion.
Because I saw that they were trying to do some interesting things with Hope Summers and Cable with that whole Messiah. Is it Messiah Complex? I think it's called the Messiah Complex. But and I actually thought they were going to allude to that in Deadpool. I thought they were going to talk about Hope and, that's my daughter and all this other kind of stuff.
I love all of the Deadpool stuff and how it's kind of like some people don't realize the Deadpool movies are connected to the X-Men movies.
Yes.
And I think they live in their own continuity too, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But also, some characters that should appear in the X-Men movies appear in the Deadpool movies instead.
Yeah, that's true.
And it happens.
Yeah. I thought that Deadpool, before this Fox deal went through, I thought that Deadpool was going to be their way of fixing everything. I thought they were going to do some kind of time travel. Because we already knew Cable was going to be in it. So I already knew that they were going to try to do some time travel stuff. And this, that, and the third. And next thing you know, you blink and we have a new X-Men or we have a new... Like, I really didn't think that they were going to do this Dark Phoenix movie. I thought they were going to find some way to axe it.
I have a controversial opinion that some people vehemently disagree with me on.
Okay.
Once Upon a Deadpool is the final time we're going to see Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool.
Wow.
Because Marvel doesn't want to admit that Fox had some successes. So we will see a new Deadpool. It's going to be like the electing of a pope, but in a black suit.
And I mean, that's a big deal, but when you also consider the fact that the character just got into movie prominence, a lot of what made that character popular existed before Ryan Reynolds did, you know. And I love Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, but a lot of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. You know, it's like what you're saying. He's done this kind of shtick in other movies before. Do you think the character lives and dies by Ryan Reynolds? Or?
No, because in all honesty, there's a lot of actors out there that could do a solid Wade Wilson.
Yeah,
and I've gone on record saying it, and some people are like, "Well, that's a good idea," and other people are like, "That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard." Johnny Knoxville would be a good Deadpool.
Oh, he actually would.
Like, when you hear his one laugh he does in the Jackass movies when he's in absolute pain, that's Deadpool. Yeah. I can hear Deadpool going,
right.
Psychotic laugh.
Yeah. Oh, no, but
yeah, I
don't know. Are you hyped for Dark Phoenix? Do you think that this can be what changes stuff like Apocalypse because this would be the sequel to the movie that you didn't like too much?
One site is going on saying right now that it's supposed to be on par with Fantastic. Apparently, according to early test screenings.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Right.
I liked the trailer. I liked seeing the Frank Quitely costumes on the X-Men. I'm like, holy crap, they're really, going all out for this.
Yeah, there was also some set photos of the Grant Morrison
that's the
outfits. Oh yeah.
And it's just so cool to see that.
I wasn't impressed by the rehashing of the beginning of X3 where you see like the quiet suburbs and they're going to go recruit Jean. We literally have it. Like you said again, like if I wanted to see that, I could just turn on X3.
Stan Lee is going to be having a hose to pretend it's a dong.
I also, Last Stand has some bad de-aging in it. In the beginning, when
that's the early days of them trying this thing out.
They even tried it in Origins with Professor X, and it's like, calm it down a little bit. Calm it down just a little bit. They're getting a little too CGI crazy. And speaking of, well, some minor bad CGI, I have a feeling that our number twos are similar but different. Because my number two is going to be a personal disappointment for me, Spider-Man 3.
And I will argue defending Spider-Man 3 partially.
On this podcast, we do a episode called Which is Worse, in which two malign movies we compare and try to defend against one another. And I defended vehemently Amazing Spider-Man 2 over Spider-Man 3. And I guess I'll continue a bit of that narrative here. When you see the success of Venom, you can almost, there's a through line to Spider-Man 3. I don't like I think Spider-Man 3 is the confirmation that Mary Jane is a terrible love interest for Peter Parker in that trilogy. I think that Maguire needs to man up a little bit in that trilogy. I feel like there's a lot of just him being pushed around by the world. And I guess that that is very Peter Parker, right? Yeah. That the world pushes him around. But I also want some agency. I also want him to do things. I cannot say enough about Surfboard Goblin. Not a fan of the Oakleys or the Winter Soldier mask. Not a fan of Harry Osborn getting an amnesia as a plot point. Not a fan of. There's a scene in it that I always point to as this is why I don't like this movie, and it is Mary Jane and Harry Osborn making an omelet. They're just making an omelet and they're dancing in the kitchen, and I'm like, why is this in my Spider-Man movie? Why?
Come on, baby.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on here? Who put this? And you would think that the dancing scene I would be pointing to is the one that everyone points to, which is, that's bad enough as it is. But in this movie, you have Spider-Man striking Mary Jane in the face by accident.
I forgot about that.
It's by accident, but he does. And he also brings another girl to her job to get her jealous and do a complete, dance sequence there. And it's just like, what did I do to deserve this? Spider-Man 2 was so good. Doc Ock was so good. Sandman literally comes and goes. He doesn't get arrested for any of his crimes. He goes, I don't think that was that great, all those things I did. See ya. He goes the way of half the MCU in Infinity War, and he just disappears.
On the topic of Spider-Man 2, I always make a purpose to go over to Joe's Pizza on Bleecker Street, which was the pizzeria. Not the exact building, it turns out, which shame.
That sucks.
But the pizza that was done in Spider-Man 2. I make a point to go there.
That's pretty cool.
But I still make a point to go there.
And then the Flatiron Building was the Daily Bugle, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. And I like I said, I dig that it's in New York. You wasted Gwen Stacy.
Yes.
Poor Bryce Dallas Howard.
She's very forgettable in this movie.
Yes. I didn't even think George Stacy's in this film.
Yeah.
I think it's the guy who was in Babe. The father. Yes. I think he plays George Stacy in that film. Again, another we just put him in there. There are parts in when Sandman's fighting where I just want to say Imhotep over and over again.
Well, here's my thing.
Okay.
With this movie, Venom is essentially shoehorned in because studio interference. They wanted this.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Spider-Man movies, and when you rewatch them now, you'll probably notice this. Those movies are a love letter to the 60s.
Yeah.
They are the cheesy lines, but it's still the heart of what Spider-Man was. Right down to the point where Spider-Man 2 takes the Spider-Man outfit in a trash can and makes it into an iconic thing. It's not a cover. That's not the cover whatsoever of that issue. It's a panel, and it made it iconic.
It made it people think that was the cover of that Spider-Man No More story arc.
And it's so cool, but those movies, 1 and 2, are his love letter to the 60s comic book. The Silver Age of Stan and Jack, Stan and John Romita Sr., all those guys. And what I love about those first two, again, just the incorporation of the Sinister Six.
Right.
You could tell that Sam fell off before the 1980s stuff, the Todd Father era, where you have Venom, and you also have Carnage and characters like that. So,
more nuanced, I guess you would say. Those characters have an additional layer that the 60s kind of didn't.
Yeah.
And they even found ways to redeem some of those villains to be here. It's like a Doc Ock now, right? Things change. And now that you say that, I could see a Spider-Man 3 without Venom that can still play well, and with Sandman in it, same character, same action scenes and stuff. But they really had to put the Venom stuff in there.
Studio interference, dude.
And
That's
then
the absolute truth. Nothing
screams misunderstanding of the source material more than Venom is Black Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man in just a black suit.
And I've always gone on record saying Topher Grace would have made a great Peter Parker.
He would have. When I heard he was cast as Venom, I already didn't like it. And I was a big wrestling fan. And I was like, you want Eddie Brock? Get Brock Lesnar.
I've always said that too.
Just put Brock Lesnar. You could be a meathead photographer. And then you just airbrush him. You don't even have to do CGI. You airbrush the guy black. And you got Eddie Brock Lesnar. You had the flat top, too.
He had the name. He had Brock in there.
You know, everything was good. The only reason why Topher Grace is because they said, well, it's just the doppelganger of Spider-Man. And so we just need another Peter Parker, and we'll just flip that guy. He's blonde. And it's like that. And what's weird is it does have semblance of brilliance. That church scene when he gets the Venom stuff, I like that scene. Where it falls on him, and you see him trying to get out of it, and it's literally just grabbing on top of him, these tendrils.
Dear God, please kill Peter Parker.
I will never forget that there's a movie in which a villain acts as God to kill the
His
superhero.
foe,
Like, what is going on here? You have a whole sequence of a wedding ring that I don't feel like is needed. Like I said, all the amnesia stuff. Mary Jane breaks up with him for the 5th time in this film. It's just the other Russian girl. What's up with that? Making cookies? Was that like were they gonna go somewhere with that?
Rent.
Yeah, but he was like...
Dickovich is my favorite, sub-character in all of those movies.
But he puts him up against the wall in that movie, I think. He's like, listen, I'll have your rent when I say I'll have your rent. Now, if you want unhinged Venom Spider-Man, it doesn't get better than Shocker! Shocker! I'll follow you to the ends of the earth!
Which brings me to my number 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Here you go. I knew we were going to throw down with this.
It's partially tied with my number 1, but not really.
Okay.
No, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a film that fails on the dismount over and over and over again. You have the most perfect Spider-Man costume. It's it is one of the best interpretations of Spider-Man's suit.
Yeah.
But a good suit in a movie does not make a good movie.
No.
And it's very forgettable. The whole, I believe there was a spy aspect. Again, just...
Yeah, the whole, Peter Parker's parents.
Yeah.
Might be secret agents.
Andrew Garfield was a fantastic Spider-Man, but a terrible Peter Parker. And then some people have gone on record saying, "Oh, he's great in both elements." I'm like, no, he is a Forever 21 model.
Yeah,
and no,
I think he had better chemistry with Gwen than Homeboy has. Now they were actually together though, so I guess that may speak to that. Andrew Garfield did date Emma Stone around the time of those films. I'll give you that Max Dillon is probably worse than I'll say he's worse than Sandman. I don't think he's worse than Venom.
I love Sandman as a villain in Spider-Man 3 because the whole duality of he's a good guy at his heart, but he didn't want to do any of what he did. Then you have Max Dillon, who is a complete dweeb, and it's not real. He is so awkward.
I actually would have liked if he would have kept the awkwardness. It was actually weird to me that once he gets the powers, he's kind of cool and suave. He's cracking jokes and stuff like that.
It kind of reminds me of the Nutty Professor.
Oh yeah,
but
Buddy Love.
I can't get behind it. The costume looks cool.
Yeah,
but again, it's one of those. It did a disservice to the source material to the point where Marvel was like, we'll kind of copy and make our version of Electro look like this. I'm like, no, I want the big dumb star head.
Yeah,
but it's one of those costumes that really doesn't transfer over to the big screen.
Right.
I've actually gone on record saying the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn is fine, and when you see in one part of the movie where she wears the Harlequin outfit,
it looks kind of weird.
It looks so strange.
Yeah, it looks kind of weird. Yeah,
it doesn't work,
and it doesn't sit on her as you would think one of those outfits would. Let's see what else we can dig about a little bit about Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh, how you feel about Paul Giamatti?
My good friend, or not my good friend. My favorite actor, Paul Giamatti. He's giving me the big time PG. To quote the boys from We Hate Movies, but forgettable.
I am the Rhino.
Forgettable.
This is my accent, and I am the Rhino. There's a scene in that movie though that I think puts it above Spider-Man 3, and it's actually the ending scene. I actually think Peter Parker talking to that little kid, saying, you did good, but I got it from here. And then he goes on top of the cop cars, and he has the bullhorn. He was very... I like quippy Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah, same here. My favorite line from the first Amazing Spider-Man is, "Oh no, knife's my one weakness."
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, I think that he was able to have those moments there, but I do agree that there's times where I'm just like, there's a Oh, you know what? When I was trying to defend it, I still had to see, like, okay, that wasn't all that great. There's a scene in that film where he sets up a almost like John Doe's diary-esque those weird like crime string.
He's gonna find out who the Zodiac killer is.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's doing this for his parents. I think it's what it is.
Spoilers, by the way, it's Ted Cruz.
He does it for his parents. I think he does to find what happened with all that kind of stuff. And so there's a montage. They play music, literally like top 40s music in the background, like alternative something. Yeah. And he's just putting up all this stuff to find his parents. And he sits down. He goes, and then Aunt May comes in, and Aunt May's like, "What the hell is all this?" And then later he just rips it off and throws it in the garbage. There was no need for any of it in the movie because nothing comes of it. He throws it in the trash. And literal minutes of that film can be shaved off because they don't do anything. No character progression, no kind of like none of the plot is being directed or any of that kind of stuff. And it's just like, who is this part for? Because the espionage stuff is not for the comic fan. I don't know where that. I know that there's some comics where they are SHIELD agents and there is some kind of weird stuff. But if you're gonna follow every comic book, Spider-Man comic book stuff to the T, a lot of it gets kind of hairy.
Yeah.
You know, because this seems like the next movie would have been about the clone conspiracy, and then you would have had to deal with all that kind of stuff.
I wouldn't want that.
Exactly.
But this movie also has the most useless post-credit scene in the sense, well, not Blade Trinity style, but useless in the sense that nothing ever came of it. The hype up for the Sinister Six movie that got scrapped.
It did get me excited, though. But what this movie has that also Spider-Man 3 has as crappy is the whole let's team up to kill the spider scene where I gotta go and kind of convince you that I don't know you, you don't know me, but let's kill this superhero. And it's like, I mean, come on, you got my spider sense is tingling. He's pointing at his junk in Spider-Man 3. There's a lot of these bad in these two Spider-Man films. Yeah. And to think that we said it on the last cast that Spider-Man is now having a year and change when you could, Infinity War, the new run in the comics starting from issue 800, they restarted to number ones. Spider-Geddon's in the comics. Spider-Man PS4 killing it in sales and in storyline, and then Into the Spider-Verse. Like now,
it's been a great year for Spider-Man.
We're definitely getting the Spider-Man that we deserve. We're at two different points now that we've discussed. It was like, this is the best that we get from this. Like, maybe we should not do the Spider-Man stuff anymore. And for a while, we were cool with just, I guess we're just not going to touch him for a while. And then he pops up in the MCU, says, "Hi, guys," and we're back in love. So, I guess that's all it takes. Because it just takes people caring. It takes the foresight of caring about the characters and character progression. I can already feel the hate coming, but I'm gonna name what I consider the worst sequel of all time.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, right.
No, it's not my best friend Josh saying that.
Does he really believe that?
Yes, and he thinks Fantastic Four is Fan Four Stick is a better movie.
Dan the Comic Man thinks that Age of Ultron is better than Avengers 1, and thinks that Avengers 1 is one of the lesser.
I used to think that, and then I did the Road to Infinity War rewatch for the Marvelists, and
yeah. Age of Ultron tries to do a lot of things. I have it on my list as disappointing, but not if you want to see Avengers 2, it's Civil War. That's Avengers 2. This is like Avengers 1.5 or something like Lion King 1.5. Yeah,
it's so well executed. But number one,
my number one is the maligned Batman versus Superman.
Ooh.
Now that is may not be a tried and true sequel to some, but when you consider
somewhere
that
John
this was
I
already know he is. And I love you, brother. I love you, Yogi. Just know that. You'll be on this cast soon to defend. But I think that when you consider that this film was supposed to be Man of Steel 2, when you consider that this film has been sort of kind of marketed since I Am Legend.
I was going to say that.
You understand? When you consider that this film has probably the two most iconic superheroes of all time, and for it to fall the way that it did, for it to be as long as it was, for it to get the characterizations as wrong as it did, to the point that now both sides are making jokes at the same movie. Both DC and Marvel make jokes at the same plot points in BVS. Everyone dying. everyone dying in Man of Steel. They talk about the Martha scene from BVS constantly. I can't put anything else but BVS. And what's weird is you think of movies that were poorly made or something. Like a lot of people want to scream the Fantastic Four films. I don't even think those were poorly made. I think those are of their time and of the understanding of we don't got to do this all comic book stuff. We can do what we want and people will still like it anyway. But BVS could have been like everything from it. When you consider that this came after the Dark Knight trilogy, like we get off on such a high of the Batman character, and then this, and then we've always been criminals, Alfred. What? Why? What? When did that happen? You're not a god. You're not even a man. Like Batman. Why did Batman say that? Why is everyone so angry? Why is everyone so sad? And then
why is everything so dark?
Then you want to blink, get to Justice League, and be like, he was more of a human than I was. When? When did y'all have that discussion? When did y'all have that talk? When did you? Oh, he's one of my best friends. When he passed. When was that? Before or after you shot him with a face full of a kryptonite? And what angers me about BVS the most is its liberal use of classic comic book stories. Its liberal use of the Dark Knight Returns. Its liberal use of the death of Superman. You don't get to do those things. You have to work to that. And I felt like them just pulling those off the shelf, it wasn't good enough. I think that Amy Adams is sort of kind of forgettable. It actually is the movie that's making me think that I want a different Lois Lane.
Yeah, she doesn't look the part either. She doesn't look like Lois Lane, the black hair. Like, why are you a redhead now? Yeah,
just because she's naturally a redhead, so that's just what it is.
It's an example that I'm always rooting for DC. People don't believe me, but I am. I want to see them succeed. But when you have Henry Cavill, who I get it was with a contract thing or some BS about the mustache.
Oh, that sunk it. That sunk the entire film.
Where that happened with Justice League, where she doesn't want to do that. You have these people that don't really care enough about your characters. This is an iconic character that's been around for decades. You're the newest personification of them, and you don't care enough to embrace that role. It's a shame.
And these characters have not only had great movies, Batman just got off a tremendous trilogy.
Yeah.
And I'm angered by the idea that they felt like they couldn't do a Superman 2 without Batman. The idea that they didn't have that much stock in the Superman character. And I argue that Zack Snyder makes a Superman for people who don't like Superman, as opposed to
Zack Snyder makes a Batman movie and a Superman movie for people who haven't read Batman or Superman stuff or just did a quick glance of it.
Yeah.
He doesn't get them.
It's one of two things, right? You either have never read them or you love them so much that any iteration of them is good enough.
And here's the thing, with my initial viewing of it in the theaters back in the day, I saw it and I liked it. Second viewing, I liked it more. Third viewing, I started noticing some of the nitpicks that people would say on the internet. And it didn't influence my opinion, but as someone who watches a lot of these movies, I'm like, that kind of makes sense. Where I'm watching the Snyder cut, because hashtag release the Snyder cut for Justice League too. Don't let that crack escape. But I'm watching it, and he just doesn't care about the characters. Killing off Jimmy Olsen is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. No, you're right. I always look to this scene. There's a scene in which he's talking to Lois. He's telling Lois, like, yeah, Lex has my mom and I have to go kill Superman now. And then he kind of just turns to the side and floats away. It's the most depressing Superman, like, I have to go kill somebody now. He just turns his head and floats away. And then the scene where he's saving all the, he's in Mexico saving the people from the burning building, and they're all like touching him like he's a god, and he has his face like, another day at the office. And every time he has to save somebody, he's so like...
I'll counteract, though, with a feeling about that. Do you think the reason he is like that now is because it's no longer new to him? It's like the equivalent of like when you go to a comic book signing and you go to, like, Neil Gaiman is the prime example. Mm-hmm. Neil, Sandman is my favorite comic ever. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Because he's heard it so many times.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's true, and I think that's also very true of normal human beings.
Yeah.
But I also feel like Superman should rise above that. Superman should find the excitement in every single interaction. Because I do believe that it's because of Man of Steel that I've gone deeper and try to find what I like about Superman. And one of the things I feel like is the best parts of Superman is that he focuses on the individual. He's very much about the ones and twos, and they come together as a group. Whereas Batman paints the entire group one color and then deals with the ones and twos. Right. I feel like Superman is very much like, no, the individual has the power to be good. And so it's up to me to save the individual. I need to save every one person because they could all be good. In this film, you get, well, if there's a 1% chance, I gotta kill him. And my problem with Batman in this film is that I'll go with you. I'll go with you to the ends of the earth with a lot of this comic book stuff, right? Because there's been comics where Batman's a vampire. There's been comics where Batman, where Superman's Russian. There's been all kinds of stuff. So I'll go with you to the ends of the earth with this kind of deal. But with this in particular, I'm on the road. Okay, he's gonna kill him. He's gonna kill Superman because he just saw what he did, and he did do a lot of damage. And from my background knowledge, Batman's kind of paranoid. Batman doesn't like when things are not in his control, or when there's something that he can't understand, or he feels like is a threat against him. They play this really well with Tony Stark. Tony Stark has a threat from space, and his mind is boggled because he has nothing in that tool chest that's gonna face off against anything from space. So from that moment that he sees those aliens, he's a man on a mission, building stuff to fight against Thanos, to the point that when you see him in Infinity War, he's kind of stocked. He kind of does have. It's his paranoia that's let him be a threat against Thanos. Now, all that for a drop of blood or whatnot, but still a threat. In this, Batman does the same. There's an alien. I need to have a suit that can block off against him, and I need to have poisons that can weaken him and then kill him. I really don't, and I know this has been harped on a million times, I really don't get how the idea that this man also, like you, has a mother. I don't get how that stops. I don't get how that stops Batman, because the Batman I know is focused and he doesn't kill. So if he has decided to kill and he's over you with the death weapon, it's happening. Yeah. Batman is one of the most direct and like if I'm on this path and determined, I'm going to do it. He scratches his face and everything. I think in that scene, if you're talking about real Batman, he says save Martha. Batman says how dare you, and he stabs him in the face with the kryptonite thing. Because guess what? Martha? You know who else has a mom, Peter? Zod has a mom. And in the same situation, if in Man of Steel, Zod would have been the one to kill Superman and disappeared, and Batman hunted him down and was like, please, I have a mother. Is that enough? And then Zod would just laser his face off and then the fight's over. That 1%, Bruce, still exists. Yeah. With him on the floor, with him screaming for his mom. That 1% still exists. That 1% where you pick Batman being like befuddled. Not a thing. Batman doesn't go, you said what? And then they made him seem like a PTSD victim because he literally just went back to that night. Like he literally just stopped what he was doing and saw the pearls again. And he's like, not again. And it became a whole thing for him. And I'm like, get Batman away from the murkiness. Get Superman away from the depression. And then Martha in that movie's like, you don't owe them anything. And I'm like, can someone tell Superman that it is his duty and destiny, with great power comes great responsibility, and that he can be the better of us all without the burden of you have to be the bridge and you will feel the warmth on your face and all that other kind of stuff. It was too flowery. It was too mythological. Ground these guys. Ground them. It worked when you grounded them in the Dark Knight trilogy. But for some reason, I did a whole month's worth of binging Superman and Batman content to get ready for this film. And I remember when I finished it, the first thing I thought was, well, there was good parts. And that's not how you should feel at the end of this. When they killed Superman, I was jaw dropped because we all knew Justice League was coming. This movie was called Dawn of Justice. So it's like, if they would have killed Blade in 2 knowing 3's coming, it's like, why did you do that? And then, well, you don't got to worry that Superman is dead because the dirt is rising. So obviously, he's going to be able to come to life by himself. But he's not, because we get to Justice League and we need to throw a mother box in the water. We need to throw a toaster in the water while he's in there so that he can get back to life. BVS is a black mark on the mythos of those two characters. And I have no qualms about saying that I think it's one of the worst superhero sequels of all time.
So for mine, mine is also going to be throwing a certain cowled crusader in there, and I think you all know which movie I'm talking about.
Oh dear.
I'm talking about Bat Nipples, people. I'm talking about Batman and Robin from the year of our Lord, 1997, by Joel Schumacher.
The old Schumacher himself.
And it's a movie where Schumacher has been openly mocked even in the Batman animated series, where a character who is very flamboyant and whose father is a shoemaker goes on saying that the Batman outfit should be this, and they make fun of the kid. They openly acknowledge it.
Did he ever talk about why he wanted the nipples? Was that ever like a plot point?
A plot point about nipples?
Well, not a plot point, but like
because bats have nipples. You
like
love the bats.
It's funny because right now with my creative mind, I could just envision like two suits, one fine and one with nipples, and he's just like, I don't know, there's something about that one. I'm really digging.
Needs more nips.
I even as a kid, I was like, do your nipples go in the molds? Like, is it like direct measurements where you just pop everything where it's supposed to go? How does this work?
Batman and Robin is a movie that on my initial viewing, I never finished it for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. This was a movie where I'm watching it. I marathon because I had gotten like the box set 2 years prior, and I didn't get to touch it until 2 years later. Uh-huh. And I watched Batman Returns, and again, these were all for the first time. 2007 was my first time viewing this stuff.
Oh wow!
Batman Forever. I'm like a little Batmaned out, watching the movie, and I'm hearing the incessant puns. And the Marvelists is a show where we're known for our incessant puns.
You guys are pretty good at it. Yeah.
And I'm fine with dad jokes and puns. I love that. But when I'm hearing these puns from Batman, it's pissing me off after a while. And it's just so over the top. And again, I'm a diehard Adam West fan. Adam West is my introduction to Batman. And, watching it on WPIX Channel 11, like that's my era of Batman. And seeing all this, I'm watching the movie. I took it out of my Xbox 360. Ejected it immediately. And I go, nope. I mean, F it. Batman died. He just died. This is how the movie ends. I'm done.
It's pretty bad, and it's one of those movies that makes you think, why did it take the turns that it took? Because it plays a lot into Batman and Robin fighting about Robin wanting more agency and stuff. McGregor syndrome. Alfred has McGregor syndrome. That's what's killing him. It's McGregor syndrome. The only reason why I remember that so clearly is because I love what I call comic book redemption, when they take something silly and they try to apply it in something that actually is successful. They gave Iris West's mom McGregor syndrome in the Flash television show. She also had McGregor. So the idea that this is running rampant in DC's universe is this disease.
I mean, it's also that, and also women being stuffed in refrigerators.
That's true. You have Nora Freeze in this. You get Heart of Ice. I mean, it's one of the most loved Batman animated series plot points, and one of the most beloved and world-renowned villain origin stories, and they just kind of
they squander it.
Yeah,
they absolutely squander it.
They made Mr. Freeze like crystallized in a lot of panels. He's like it's glittery. I don't know if that's like an ice thing,
because that indicates ice.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if that's an ice thing or not. I think that they failed by not getting those red goggles, bro. Those red goggles is what you need. You need those. I know. I guess you can't cover up his face. They didn't really want him in that. He looked like a Power Rangers villain in that.
Oh, everyone looked like a Power Rangers villain in this movie. Even the heroes.
Yeah.
And you also have Bane, my close personal friend Bane. Yes. He shows up. The living hits.
And he's dumb as a doornail.
Played by the late great professional wrestler Jeep Swenson.
Yes, and he is huge. That guy is huge.
He's built like a Jeep. No pun intended.
You got, what's his name? Is it the Pharaonic Man? Is the Woodrow is the doctor? So there's like flourishes.
I always forget that's him. Yeah,
it is flourishes of greatness here, and he is from the prison. That guy was from prison, so that makes sense. But then Brain Dead Bane, like there's literally no interpretation where he isn't a genius or a master tactician or some kind of like really inept villain.
They wanted him to be a generic heavy, and it didn't work. If you want to do a generic heavy with somebody, do Clayface. But I understand it's 1997. You don't have the technical aspects. or you have the technical limitations at that time where that can't be done.
Yeah, but you just said it, and one name came to mind, and it would have worked. You do Solomon Grundy.
Boom. Yeah.
You do Solomon Grundy, and you can still do the same dialogue, right? Because he was basically a vampire. Bane, ready, and all that kind of. You do the same stuff. Solomon Grundy. That's it.
On a Monday.
And we haven't seen him in movies yet. You bring Solomon Grundy in, and you kind of probably could have tied that in with the Pamela Isley, bringing life to plants stuff. You all could have came together with that, but there was no thought process with it. And
I'd have been down with that.
I remember this movie having a scene in it that changed how I viewed the first four forever, which is a scene where Batman's he fell he's sitting on a bunch of sandbags. They're full of something, I forget. And,
full of hot air.
There you go. Hey, I like that. And then Poison Ivy comes in, and throughout this movie, she's just blowing stuff in their faces. They don't care. They're not trying to move away or cover their faces. They're all just taking in all these pheromones. But when Poison Ivy talks to George Clooney's Batman, is the first time I noticed that Batman cannot move his neck. And so he has to move his entire body to face her and talk to her. And that broke my image of that costume for years, because I was like, oh snap, he really can't turn. He really can't move his neck. And then they talk about it in Batman Begins or Dark Knight. He's like, I would like a costume that I can move my neck in, please. If you can.
That's good.
If you can get to it. Because even in Batman Begins, he can't move his neck. He still has a one-piece cowl neck thing. And I was like, man.
And isn't it funny? You see cosplayers able to do it, and yet they can't do it on a major level.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And in this film, we get a lot of glowy gadget stuff.
It's very colorful. It's very reminiscent of the Adam West era, but they missed the mark on what made the Adam West era so great. And if you're trying to do this, then just put Adam West in there with the flabby suit and everything. Go for it. Go for that.
Yeah.
But here's one thing about this movie that I do surprisingly feel is good, and not many people feel this way. George Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne. He was one of the best Bruce Waynes on film, and I've always felt bad that he apologizes for this role. He did suck as Batman.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, but again, it's the writing. If he had a better writer, if he had a better director, could have been off to the races. He would have been perfect as Batman.
You do get some sincere scenes with him and Alfred.
Yeah.
Where he feels like Alfred might pass, and this is a father figure, so I thought that was very poignant. I thought that was cool. But my problem with it is there's so many times where you just see something and just like, where did that come from? There's a weird dance with Poison Ivy as a gorilla. She's seducing people, and you're just like, what is that about? Rubber lips. That's how they defeat Poison Ivy. They just wear rubber lips. Of course,
to quote the Nostalgia Critic,
a bat credit card. Bat credit card. Bat butt.
Don't leave the cave without
bat skates. You get bat ice skates that pop out on command. The Batmobile is blue in the inside now, or I think that might have started in Forever, where they put the ribs on the Batmobile and you have it's glowing from the inside or something like that. The Batgirl just joins the team, and all of a sudden they all have Arctic themed suits that come out of nowhere, because from Batman Forever, Alfred is the tailor. So he was just going at it, making suits for the jungle, suits for the Arctic, suits for all that stuff, I guess. And they half the world freezes, and then unfreezes, and everybody's fine. And I don't think that's how ice works. I think that I think you can't just freeze people and dog. I think one dog goes to go pee on a hydrant, gets frozen, and then unfrozen. He's alive. He's fine. Everything's gangbusters. And not to mention that you have one person trying to freeze the entire world and another person trying to have the plants inhabit the entire world. And those things do not go together so whatsoever. And maybe that was supposed to be the joke, eventually they were going to turn on each other. But I don't think they were that smart. I think they were legitimately just trying to have these two people. Let's team up.
It's, again, just a movie that the main purpose of that movie was to sell toys. That's all it was. Same with Batman Forever.
Yeah, because I heard that they didn't do so well with the toy sales for Returns.
Yeah.
Which Returns, a lot of people think, there's people that say that that's movie. The worst Batman movie. But Returns came out right around the time I was born. And so I've seen that movie 800 million times. And so I have a soft spot for even the corniest parts of that film, because it's one of those things for me.
My favorite moment from Returns is him talking to Danny DeVito's Penguin talking to Christopher Walken, and just the line of, How's your old friend, Fred Atkins? Oh, well, Fred, he's on vacation. Oh, okay. I'm Fred's hand.
Yeah, here's Fred's hand.
And that's been a recurring joke with my best friend and I for like the past 15 years. And every time I bring that up, I always think of me recounting that story to Michael Uslan, the producer of the Batman movies. I met him.
Oh, he loves Batman.
He's why Batman is the way he is now.
Yeah.
And I recounted that story and like, Face of Stone, man, he did not care about my story. And I'm like, oh.
No, I think that stuff is hilarious. I think another running joke in that franchise of those first 4 films is that Commissioner Gordon is the worst cop ever. There's a scene in Forever where Nigma kills his boss. He throws him off the balcony thing.
Gordon is Porky Pig.
Yeah, and so Gordon shows up and Nigma writes a fake suicide note in his penmanship and all that stuff. Gordon looks at the note and goes, well, it was obviously a suicide. And that's it. And that's it. In Batman Returns, they find a Batarang. And he goes, well, we found this at the scene, so it's obviously Batman. Well, we're looking for Batman. Everything is like open and shut case. We figured it out. And I'm like, this is the worst. When you see what Gary Oldman ends up doing, I'm like, wow, they actually care about the character here. In this, he legitimately is Porky Pig.
J.K. Simmons, though, he's from what we've seen, we haven't seen much, but
yeah,
I dig his Gordon. But I do wish he was back as Jonah.
Yes, I do wish
pictures
too.
of Spider-Man.
Because now we've been away for J. Jonah since the third one, since Spider-Man 3. We haven't had a single. There wasn't one in Homecoming. There wasn't one in Spider-Verse.
Well, technically, he was in Spider-Verse. And fun fact, that version of Jonah at the end of
Spider-Verse, at the end of the post-credit, yeah,
that's actually Stan Lee.
Wow.
Yeah. He wanted to play Stan Lee Stan Lee wanted to play Stan Lee, people. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
He wanted to play Jonah for his whole life. So he finally got a chance.
I think I remember him saying that, and that's why he made him like kind of brash and kind of. Well, we got our 5 out of the way. There's some ones that people would call disappointing because of like some of these movies can be successful and still be a bit disappointing. How do you feel about the criticism that Dark Knight Rises is a disappointing sequel to Dark Knight?
I can understand why people would say it's that, but when you're making a film after the tour de force that Heath Ledger was in that film,
yeah,
of course anything after is going to be a disappointment.
Right.
No matter what, like unless you have, what's his name? The guy who he was in I Drink Your Milkshake. Him.
Oh yeah.
Unless you have him, I can't remember his name right now offhand. It's like killing me. I'm gonna remember.
Is
afterwards.
It Bardem?
No, not Bardem. Although he would have made a great Joker.
Yeah, he actually would have made a great Bane too.
I'm thinking. Not There Will Be. I'm thinking There Will Be Blood.
Oh,
he played Lincoln.
Yes, what's his name? He's in Cowboys and Aliens. No, he's not in Cowboys and Aliens.
No.
That's a homeboy from James Bond.
I'm trying to remember. This is gonna be killing me, but yeah, just overall, I don't even know where I was going with this thought. But
you saying he would have been a better villain? He would have played a better Joker?
No, not a better Joker, but like he could have been like a villain in the follow-up of after Dark Knight, and
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah. You have an actor like him, throw him in, afterwards. It'll just be as good as a Ledger performance, but just the idea of anything after Ledger's performance, people are going to be taking note of like, oh, it was good, but it wasn't Heath Ledger over there.
Yeah.
So any character like Tom Hardy's Bane was a good Bane.
Yeah, it was.
I love the crab face. I love the whole.
Yeah.
But
let's not stand on ceremony here. Yeah, so that gets maligned. How do you feel about Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer?
I've actually never seen that one.
Have you seen the first Fantastic Four? Or not the first?
We go with the second Fantastic Four, but it's the first that actually got released.
Yeah. You're right.
It's not that great.
No,
to be honest, a lot of the Fox movies are just like we're trying to see what sticks to the wall, and that's a prime example of it.
More modern. I was disappointed when, and this is probably gonna break some hearts. I was kind of disappointed in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Really? That was a movie I saw 3 times in theaters. Once in 2D, 3D, and IMAX.
I've seen it a handful of times. I maybe I wonder if it doesn't have enough Paul Rudd in it, because I love Paul Rudd. Bobby Newport. He's he's the greatest.
Bobby Newport.
Bobby Newport. I felt like sometimes in these sequels they go, well, we got the main character down, so now we have to get everybody else ready. But there's a reason why he's still the main character, and I felt like that pulled away a little bit. And then I've said again, Age of Ultron. I don't think Age of Ultron was a great Avengers movie, and it's supposedly the movie that broke Joss Whedon. So
really,
yeah, he like left Twitter just stressed on the because it was studio interference. So like, you gotta put this in, you gotta put that in. That's the movie that has Thanos in it. That says I'll do it myself, but that makes no sense canonically because he has an Infinity Gauntlet already, and he doesn't go get the Infinity Gauntlet until Infinity War. So there's a lot of that stuff. Killing Quicksilver was weird to me.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Endgame.
Yeah. The Russos seem to know what they're doing with that.
Rumor and innuendo has it stated that we might be seeing him one more time.
If we're going at comic book properties, some people have said the movie that got a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes from 1993, TMNT3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that is the worst. Oh my god, that movie. Okay.
Where they go to Japan.
So when I was a kid, I would always watch that movie. I would have it like repeatedly played growing up.
Yeah.
And watching that movie, I would always hope it would get better every viewing. But I was like, this movie still sucks. Like, even 4-year-old me is watching it just like, this is
not the best, right? Yeah. Comic book property.
Yeah.
Considered a comic book sequel. And
man, I should have thrown that in my top because that's
that's up there. Yeah, that's definitely up there. I haven't seen it, but there is a Crow sequel that legitimately has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. But the one that I guess caused a little bit more trouble is Crow City of Angels from 1996. 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
All of the Crow sequels are terrible.
It was made by Miramax and 13 million, but it ended up making 17 million. So I guess it's not that bad. We have to talk about Son of the Mask.
A movie that I've luckily avoided this whole time.
I haven't seen it either, but I've seen bits of it. Loki is in it. The God of Mischief is in it, played by Alan Cummings, who played Nightcrawler. And I don't know why Loki. I guess Loki's in the lore of the Mask, and Loki is public domain because it's Norse mythology.
Yeah. So
he's in there. But Jamie Kennedy, bringing back the Mask where anyone but Jim Carrey is troublesome. At least troublesome.
And this was during a time when Jim Carrey refused to do sequels to his movies.
Yeah.
Unless it really had a great script, and we saw how Dumb and Dumberer came out.
So that the Mask is a Dark Horse property. This film, it costs between, and this is always the fun part, right? Because if you don't have an exact number, it's probably the higher number. But it cost between $84 and $100 million.
Oh my god.
And it made $59 million. With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 6%. It may be one of the worst.
I always felt bad for Jamie Kennedy. Jamie Kennedy was a very interesting person. You have Malibu's Most Wanted, which is a really funny and underrated movie.
Yeah.
But then, he's trying to coast off of that, and
he had the experiment, the Jamie Kennedy experiment, where he had his own show. And then there was like this weird moment. There was a weird glimmer of light of Jamie Kennedy, and then it just kind of faded.
I always found it funny. I did a tweet one day making fun of Jamie Kennedy from a quote from a podcast, quoted it and put it up, and I didn't tag Jamie Kennedy, but he was vanity searching himself.
Wow, and it got to him?
And he liked the tweet, and I'm just like, oh, Jamie.
How far are we fallen? Thor 2? Issues? Problems? Concerns?
Yeah. It's, again, just a very... It's an okay movie, but it's just so boring. It's very, very boring.
It has hints of the beginning of the humor that you end up seeing in stuff like Ragnarok, but I don't think it has enough, and it also doesn't have enough of the lore stuff, and it also really, really hinges on Loki. It's one of those movies that's like, we know you love Loki, so here's all the Loki we can Loki. And so, and they weren't even at all low-key about it. Yeah, see that?
I appreciated that.
Thank you.
Another one is Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, which you recently just saw.
I just saw Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. This movie was 57. It cost $57 million to make, and it made 130 Oh yeah, 132.
Well, it's Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider, and he's gonna be Johnny Blaze, and he's gonna.
Oh, that's a pretty good Nick Cage.
My head's on fire.
What is it? He says, "Why is there wind in here? We're in a cave. The wind follows everywhere I go.
Everything smells like rain.
Everywhere I go, the wind follows. I like drinking egg creams and punching Nazis.
I don't understand this, but I will.
Purple, blue." Oh, he's. I'm taking this thing with me.
Man, this last year was a great year for Nick Cage with comic book movies, where he was in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and he was
finally playing Superman.
Yes,
finally playing Superman after not being in Superman Returns.
It was the death of Superman. Well, he was in.
He's gonna be Superman Lives. Was gonna be the one. Superman Lives. Yes,
and then the great John Schnepp did a documentary about it called "The Death of Superman."
Rest in peace.
Man, he was super nice to me. I met him at New York Comic Con, I believe 2015 or 16.
Okay.
Class act all the way.
Yeah, he seems like a genuine guy. But yeah, Nick Cage finally got to do that. So Spirit of Vengeance,
I liked it back in the day.
It definitely has the charm of realizing that the entire Ghost Rider thing is kind of crazy. So it definitely goes in that way. But there's a lot of weird directorial missteps, like shaky cam, where there probably doesn't need to be shaking cam. At one point, Ghost Rider gets hit with a grenade launcher, and it hurts him. And that's the first time I've ever seen that happen.
I got a boo-boo.
Yeah, so I was like, wait, that happens, I guess. Bullets can't hurt him, but I guess that can. At one point, he makes the crane into a chainsaw, a flaming
crane
chainsaw.
Saw. I'm gonna copyright it.
I'm telling you, everybody's gonna love it. It's a crane saw. They tell you, they answer the question that you want to know. Does fire come out when he pees? They do
I remember.
They do an entire scene about that, about fire coming out when he pees, and he's trying to save the son of Satan, I guess is what's going on there. It's fine. I don't think it is kind of terrible, but at least people are having fun in it. Where I felt like the first one, I remember Blackheart from. Is it Blackheart from?
I believe it is. Yeah.
From Marvel vs. Capcom, and he was this big dreadlocky demon creature. And when he shows up in that movie, he's just a pale-faced Twilight actor. And I'm like,
well, Blackheart made his debut originally in Daredevil.
Oh wow.
Blackheart, I believe, is a Annie Nocenti character, and it's weird that character got so much traction to even be in a Marvel vs. Capcom video game.
Right, yeah. Well, I had a Mingo in it too, that cactus. So I guess people would just...
Oh my God.
People might have been buying their way onto that game.
That game was amazing. Now that's a good sequel.
Yeah, that's a good... But I heard that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is not.
Oh, it is terrible.
Which hurts me because I initially wanted to get it and didn't have the money for it. And then everyone was like, it's not that great. So I was like, I'll just play Injustice 2.
Oh, wait. I waited till it got docked down to $20.
Okay. And what is so bad about it?
It's just... It's more, I guess, for me, the development of it all. The whole, hey, we are not going to put the X-Men because we don't believe people remember the X-Men. That was my favorite line, and...
That's garbage. Tornado Claw is half of that game.
Yeah.
Berserker Barrage, like, what are you talking about?
Deadpool in Ultimate 3 and regular 3 was, like, my favorite part of it. Just right down to using the health bar as a weapon.
Yeah. Pineapple Surprise. Oh, that
oh my great. God. But remember, no one remembers Deadpool either because they took him out of the game.
Oh my gosh.
No one
I always thought that was like a weird Marvel trying to kill the X-Men off of everything kind of deal. Because remember, that's when the Inhumans were like really big and we're like, we're not talking about the mutants anymore. It's all about the Inhumans.
It's like Mean Girls were trying to make Fetch a thing.
Stop trying to make the Inhumans a thing. And you know what's funny? I went and I did all the deep dives to be ready for Inhumans, and that ended up not being that great, the show. And then they seem to have doubled back down on the X-Men. They're like, oh, screw it. All the X-Men are back.
Yeah.
Back and they're better than ever. And I'm like,
X-Men
wow.
We had X-Men Gold and Blue and just phenomenal stuff from that.
But they had the X-Men fight the Inhumans. They did all that. They built brand new heroes that were Inhuman. And they eventually didn't take it to where they thought it was going to go, which shows that sometimes capitalizing on a good film or a good idea or a good comic is not as easy as some people think it is. And we know that you guys probably have your picks and probably are quite upset at some of ours.
But remember, people, it's all right to like a movie.
Exactly. Like the movies that you like and fight me in person if you don't. I guess so you can do that.
We'll give the addresses.
That's it. Oh my God, that's one of the parts I hated about Iron Man 3. He gives his whole address, And then he gets bombed. He's like, where's this coming from? I'm like, you're the one you literally just told everybody where you live.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Like, oh, man, that sucks. But, wow. It was fun talking about some of the best of the worst or the worst of the worst. So that's pretty awesome there. But if you like the kind of stuff that we do here as part of the Major Issues podcast, you can find this podcast wherever podcasts are found. It's Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Addict, Google Play, the Apple Podcast app. And if you have an iPhone, there's already an app pre-installed onto your phone. There's a podcast app. Just search in the search bar Major Issues Podcast and we pop right up. If you don't want to go do any of that trouble, just go to Google Major Issues Podcast and we are the first result. And I'm quite proud of that. Probably because we're the only Major Issues podcast, but it works. Go ahead and get yourself one of those podcasts and listen to our humongous backlog of all the greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Do us a favor and rate and review once you're there, because that's the quickest way for us to get new followers and for us to know what we're doing right as podcasters here, because it is so much fun that sometimes it doesn't even feel like work. So let me know if there are some things that we need to work on as part of a podcast, because we are ready for that. You can reach this show in particular at Major Issues CBC on the Twitter machine, but majority of the Major Issues branding takes place underneath Comic Book Clique, which you can find at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or use the hashtag comicbookclick to come up with the latest, greatest, hottest things to come to comic books and comic book media. And that's where majority of this talking is taking place. But Peter, I know you are a co-host of a very fine podcast. Go ahead and let the people know.
Well, first off, you can find the Marvelists on the Twitter at The Marvelists. You can find us on Instagram at The Marvelists. You can find us at Facebook at facebook.com with our 11,000 plus likes. Oh my God, I can't believe I can say that.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It's spectacular. It's ultimate. It's Marvel team up.
It's astonishing. It's astonishing. It's 2-in-1.
Anyway.
And the 80-page giant.
Facebook.com/The Marvelists. Also, listen to us on all the other same platforms. We're not on Google Play, though. It's a pain in the ass to do Google Play. I'm trying to figure it out.
But it's Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
Yeah, check us both out on Spotify. This is we're trying to be where you guys are. All these new kids are listening to all these newfangled apps. We're trying to branch out into all that stuff there.
You can also find me on Twitter at Peter Melnik, on Instagram at Peter Melnik once again, and I have a new Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Peter Melnik Podcaster. Give me a like ski on there.
And we'll go ahead and put those links also in the show notes for those who are a little bit less technologically inclined. So you guys can get a dose of the Marvelists. I'm telling you, once you get a little sip, you're going to want some more. Those guys really know what they're talking about and really have some great production values, some great insight on these characters, like I've said, have lasted decades. It takes a fresh take to want to hear people talk about some of these characters, because you've heard a million things between YouTube and other podcasts, but I'm telling you, the Marvelists is where they're at, and they do deep dives on movie series, so it's cool to see both your new take and Eddie's old take on some of these characters, because he is a traditionalist in a lot of ways, and hear how he speaks about his first interaction with these characters is quite the insight.
And you can actually check Eddie on Instagram at Eddie... there we go. Instagram at Eddie9193.
And he has some hilarious photos. He is a sport. I can tell you that first and foremost. He is a ham and he is a sport.
He is fun.
And he brings me much joy. I've seen some of his cosplays, and I've seen how you guys get ready for some of your episodes, and it is indeed a treat. So like I said, go over, check out the Marvelists. Check out more episodes of Major Issues, and probably don't check out any more comic book movie sequels, because they get pretty bad.
They kind of do, by the third.
By the third.
What up, X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah, I'm not going to make a third podcast. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to just hop over all that. But my name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I'm Peter Melnik.
And this has been the worst comic book movie sequels, I guess, of all time. And whether or not you were... a terrible, terrible Venom, because you used to be on that 70s show. Whether or not you won't talk to David S. Goyer and you want to be driven on set and be called Blade. Whether or not you're Josh Trank and you destroy a house. You destroy a house that people bought for you to be in there. Come on, Josh. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, Josh.
Or whether you have bat nipples. Remember that we are the Clique, and you, yes, you, are worthy.